What up, Claytriots? It's your boy, Technically Clay, streaming at you from cloudy St. Louis, Missouri. How is everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing great. I'm doing great. My kitty's doing great. Everybody's doing great. If you're not doing great, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you, but you're a little left out of the loop then. I'm just kidding. If you're not doing great, I hope you do better soon. So since the last time you saw me, last night, I didn't really do much. I tried doing some Slay the Spire runs. I've been having terrible luck on my Slay the Spire runs lately. I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to get a little bit bored of Slay the Spire 2. I wanted to actually 100% at this time. I wanted to get every character maxed out at Ascension 10, but I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, maybe I just need to break through and finish this one character. I'm on the Regent right now. I'm on Ascension 8. I don't know why. I'm just never able to get a good run going. I feel like I was easy breezy going through Ascension 7, and now all of a sudden I'm having a really hard time. So I'm getting a little frustrated. I think that's it. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll start playing a new game here soon instead. But yeah, so I did that a little bit, watched some YouTube. Went to bed. I did a long stream yesterday, guys. I did like 3 hours. That's like my goal is 2 hours every day. I usually end up going a little bit past that. It usually ends up being a little bit closer to 2.5 hours or so. 3 hours is a lot though. I mean, you have to understand, I have a real job. Like I'm working like, well, on Fridays I have half days, but I'm working like, 9 hours a day and then also doing streaming for like 3 hours. It's like 12 hours right there. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't got time for that. I got other hobbies. Come on, people. But I do it because I love it, and I do it because I love you guys. So let's see. Or I already did this since the last time you saw me. So then after that, I went to bed, woke up. I got pretty bad sleep last night. I think it's just because my cat, I told you yesterday, like she had breast cancer surgery, so an entire breast chain removed. She has a massive gnarly scar on her stomach right now, and the first couple days are always like when they're recovering, you're like, you got to keep a close eye on them. So I was like waking up anytime the cat got up and like moved to go get a bite of food or something, I would wake up and like just make sure that she's not like taking off her cone or anything. I just want to be ultra careful with her. But yeah, she's still doing good though, by the way. Then woke up, went to work, pretty normal day at work. I haven't worked out yet today. Maybe I'll do it after I stream. If not today, I'll do it tomorrow. I just need to get one leg workout in before next week, just to kind of set me up for success for next week. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, so after work, I had a sandwich. And then I came right here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. Today we are going over the news of the day. I don't know the exact order of this one is going to stay the same, because a lot of this stuff, I don't think any of it feels like higher priority than any of the other stuff, generally speaking. So I'm going to be kind of like, going whichever video I feel like. I'm about to go over like the high level overview of what we're doing today. So we're going to go over the Vote-O-Rama fallout from yesterday. The Senate, I believe, passed the ICE funding bill. Thank you, Senate, for funneling so much of my fucking taxes to the thugs that are going to oppress us. I love it. I love it. We got the Dems in the Senate, I guess, blocked the FISA reauthorization. FISA is like the surveillance act that allows the government to spy on us all. So, maybe that's a rare W from the Dems. We'll have to find out. We're going to go over a little bit of Iran stuff. I just got one video on it, though. I think it's just going to be an unhinged Fox News dude trying to get us back into like full-scale war. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll have a little bit of information. I haven't heard any huge updates when it comes to Iran today, so that's why I'm like, I don't think there's really a ton to go over, so that's why I just got one video. And then we're going to go over the Graham Platner stuff from yesterday. I'll give you a quick spoiler alert. I think it's kind of a huge nothing burger. the New York Times article. We're going to probably read it just to get a full grasp of it, and then maybe watch some videos of Platner's response after. That's probably going to take up a large amount of time, by the way. That's probably going to be like 30 to 45 minutes if I had to guess, because there's just a lot of stuff to go over, especially if I'm reading an article as well. And then let's see. Pulte, I have no idea about this guy. He's the new acting DNI to replace Tulsi Gabbard. SpaceX has a IPO, and then whatever else I feel like. So that is kind of that's the kind of what's it called, schedule or itinerary, I guess you could say, of what I'm hoping to go over. But take everything with a grain of salt, people. I always tell people, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to go long on stuff. I'm not going to make it through everything. And also, if I just feel like I don't feel like covering it due to what I'm feeling at the time, then it might not happen. So, but yeah, so with that being said, let's just go ahead and launch right into it. Let's see, what do I want to start with? I think I'm going to start with this one. I think I'm going to start with the Vote-O-Rama stuff. So, yesterday, there was a Senate Vote-O-Rama. That's where they vote on a whole bunch of like various bills and funding, like funding bills and stuff. I think it all goes through a single legislative process, if I remember correctly, like a single. I can't remember the exactly how that process works, but I think they're essentially voting on a whole bunch of things to then go into a single bill to be passed, is like my understanding. And so the biggest thing that I think came out of that is the ICE funding. I think it was like $90 billion or something, like insane, that they're sending over to ICE to like, hire more, I don't know, college dropouts or people who can't get real jobs to go like brutalize brown people around the country. So anyway, let's go ahead and go watch the CBS News video about it. We'll see if there was any other things besides the ICE funding bill. And yeah, let's see what's going on with it.
Massive reconciliation bill funding the Department of Homeland Security's immigration enforcement agencies is now headed to the House. The Senate approved the $70 billion package early this morning.
$70 billion.
A marathon vote series that began late yesterday. During what's known as a Vote-O-Rama, Democrats attempted to eliminate.
Think about what all we could do with that $70 billion, man. That would be like free college tuition, dude. I assume that like the funding, the funding isn't like a continual thing as far as I'm aware. I think it's only 1 year's worth, but still, that's like, I think that's like multiple free college tuitions, or like half of Medicare for all that we're just giving to these people as like a federal jobs program for the unemployable. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what ICE is, right? That's what ICE, I mean, I used to say this about police as well. I guess back before I was really streaming that much, but it's essentially just a jobs program for people who can't get real jobs. Like, for like untalented people who can't get actual jobs, they go into policing, or they go into like becoming an ICE agent, right? And so now they're just like, expanding that even further. And I keep telling people it's not going to stop with just immigrants. Like, if you've read history, it doesn't stop with like the initial outgroup. Okay, it always expands, especially as the administration becomes less and less popular. Especially once it becomes less and less popular amongst like Republicans and stuff too, it will expand to include non-immigrants as well. So get ready, people. We are now all funding our own oppression, or at least our representatives are. ICE is incredibly unpopular when it comes to the actual people. Like, the people of America don't like ICE, but the politicians, I mean, they're all hacks anyway. I don't know if any of the Democrats like signed on to this. If I had to guess, Fetterman did, maybe, and I don't know if any of the other ones would sign on to it at this point in time, but I assure you that the Democrats are perfectly fine with funding ICE. because I think they see it as useful as well as like largely speaking, like most of the Democrats, all of the ones that are aligned with corporate power and capitalist interests, they see ICE as the enforcement mechanism in the future of throwing all of the dissidents into concentration camps or whatever, right? Like they see that as a useful like thing to have for the future, and the capital owners at the top see it as a useful like private police force to enforce the arm of capital. I just see it as really just like a beefed up police force, like the normal police are obviously do like their best to try to maintain property for the capital owners, but ICE is like this now instead of having localized police, now we have like nationalized police that are all going to end up doing that exact same thing, if not like a lot worse. But yeah, there you go.
Or restrict the Justice Department's anti-weaponization fund, but none of the amendments they introduced cleared the required 60-vote threshold. CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us from our Washington bureau with more on all of this. Good morning, Aaron. I'm just curious, how will our viewers' lives possibly be different after this Vote-O-Rama?
Good morning, Errol. Well, the clearest thing so far from this bill is that the immigration tactics under the president's second term now in the White House will continue for the rest of his term. It's $70 billion for ICE and CBP for the next 3 years. So through the end.
Yeah, and it's incredibly unpopular as well. Like I said before, it's incredibly unpopular. ICE has a net negative approval rating, like a -20 or something approval rate at this point. Like it's nobody wants this shit, but they don't care about what we want.
Of President Trump's term in the White House, and this comes after a tumultuous couple of about 2 years, essentially, where the immigration enforcement agencies have shut down the southern border, but have also killed.
It's even worse than I thought. It's a minus what, like. It's 60 to 30, so it's a -60 approval rate. Wow, that's crazy, man. Everybody fucking hates ICE. Like it's at that point, it's like all Democrats, obviously, but like all independents and even some Republicans hate ICE at this point. Like
killed 2 Americans and have had a heavy increase in deportation roundups. The reconciliation bill that was part of this Vote-O-Rama last night on Capitol Hill.
And I have to ask again, all you chuds out there, are your lives better now? They got rid of all of the immigrants. They're all gone. He did what he said he was going to do. It's all done. Now, are your lives better? I'm guessing the answer is no, because everything still sucks. Everything is so unaffordable. The raises that I've been getting haven't been keeping up with inflation. Medical costs are still through the roof. Housing is still completely unaffordable. Like all of these things still exist somehow. I don't understand. I thought this was supposed to fix everything, and it's not doing it. What's going on?
Did not codify any guardrails on the president's anti-weaponization fund. That's the
right. Just hasn't been tried hard enough, right? True fascism, has never been tried. We will fix the economy once we implement true fascism, but it hasn't been tried yet.
$1.8 billion fund.
True, or I guess I should say true capitalism. Real capitalism has never been tried.
That the president argues can be used to compensate those who feel they were wrongly prosecuted under the Biden administration. You saw many Republicans on Capitol Hill push back on that, but they did not have the votes in terms of amendments to put any, guardrails or limits or restrictions on that in stone.
It's weird though. I don't understand this part about the anti-weaponization fund, because I heard that it's illegal. A judge has ruled it illegal, right? Am I wrong? I thought that was what a judge ruled. So it is illegal for him to use this and dole out money to like whoever he feels like, right? As far as I know, it was ruled illegal. So I don't even know why it's necessary to codify this. I mean, I guess if you want to be super ultra sure or whatever, but it's like it's already illegal. So just like charge him, throw him in jail if he does something,
The issue of affordability, as we keep hearing, is important to Americans. I guess President Trump spoke about this yesterday. I just want to play that quickly for our viewers.
We're really lowering costs. What we had is a bunch of con artists, the Democrats, and what they did
Good one.
is they said they left. They gave the highest prices that we've ever had for all products, groceries, everything, and they started saying affordability. They'd say this is about affordability. It's a con job. I inherited their high prices. We brought those prices way down.
Nuh-uh.
President Trump saying it's a con job. He's attacking the opposing party.
Are you
Tell
kidding
us
me?
more about the White House's.
I mean, some stuff has gone down. I think eggs might be down compared to when he came into office, but 90% of stuff has gone up in price, like relatively significantly. Like beef, for instance, like I swear every time I go to the store, it's like $7 a pound. Like it used to be $4 a pound. Like it's crazy. And then obviously, you know, coffee and stuff I know is up a lot. I'm trying to look at the numbers here. Yeah, let's see. Maybe this one will work. This is kind of a hard one to follow. It's like moving and stuff. I wish the graph would just stay still. PCE price index, a measure of the overall price. PCE price index percentage change from a year ago. PCE price index percentage change from a year ago. So, but like you can see the price is still just, you know, price of everything is still going up. And I think that inflation is like 4% or something right now. Personal consumption. Yeah. But yeah, so like I don't know, everything is incredibly expensive. I don't know what I mean. Obviously, he doesn't have to deal with like the normal economy. He lives in the capital owning class. He's part of the pedo billionaires. Like they have a completely different economy than average everyday workers. So I guess it makes sense that he wouldn't understand this at all.
Messaging on the economy.
Well, that messaging from President Trump is similar to what he was saying about the economy before he started this war with Iran. He would often blame
and obviously gas prices are inflated through the roof right now.
His predecessor, President Joe Biden, saying he inherited high prices, high inflation from him. But a lot of what the president says on the economy, it doesn't really matter as long as this war with Iran continues, as long as there are these restrictions when it comes to transit through the Strait of Hormuz, the rise in gas and grocery prices as a result of what the president is doing there. And he has said in the past that he's almost dismissive of Americans' financial situations, saying that it is a small cost to pay as long as Iran is prevented from having a nuclear weapon. We will see the president in Wisconsin later today. It's a swing state. It has a number of notable midterm races in what is billed as a speech on agriculture, on what his signature tax and spending bill, which he calls the one big beautiful bill, is doing for rural Americans. But we will see how much time the president actually dedicates to talking about that compared to other topics.
Yes, he can go on to other things sometimes and move off message. Aaron Navarro in D.C. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go. So I guess that's the main takeaways is they weren't able to strip I don't even understand how this works. I guess to get it amended, they needed like a 60 vote threshold, like a filibuster passing threshold. I was kind of under the impression this was like I thought this was through reconciliation, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. But yeah, so they weren't able to strip the anti what was it called? The anti-weaponization fund from it. The Democrats weren't, and also they're paying, like I said before, the $70 billion to ICE to essentially keep it funded. I don't really, so I guess it goes back to the House now is what it sounded like. And I don't know if the House will pass these things necessarily without amendments. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. At least that's what I thought I got from earlier in the video. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go to let's go here. Let's talk a little bit about the FISA. Not Pfizer, people. Okay, not Pfizer. Don't get triggered. Don't get scared. Okay, I'm talking about FISA. FISA. Okay, this is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, I think, is what it stands for. Yeah, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. So essentially, what this is the act that allows companies. Well, I guess not companies. It allows the government to spy on literally everything we do. That's basically what it is in a nutshell. You know, since it was passed, it has been used repeatedly to intrude on the privacy of Americans, like constantly, right? And so all under the guise of terrorism or preventing terrorism. But I mean, I mean, you know, that's I don't think the primary reason that it's used for. But let's go ahead and watch this. Apparently, the Senate Democrats did a good thing. They blocked the FISA reauthorization. So let's go ahead and listen to this video from Fox News.
This is brand new to everybody. Overnight, the Senate voted to fund ICE for the rest of the president's term.
That's what I just talked about.
It's pushed to reauthorize FISA, you know, the Spy Powers Act, stalls.
Chad Pergram joins us over the phone with these new details. Hey, Chad.
Good morning, guys. Well, this has all just developed in the past hour. Let me start with FISA. FISA Section 702 has been very controversial. This is this domestic spying program that they have. And the problem with it is a lot of Republicans and Democrats wanted more guardrails. They've gone through several deadlines here. The push is to get this done by the end of next week. They thought they had a bipartisan agreement here because it expires at the end of next week.
I don't want guardrails. I want it like gone. I don't think that this helps at all. Like they use what people have to understand is that they use the term terrorism, or they use like the guise of national security always to intrude on people's rights. And it is not for the cause that they say it's for. Okay. Like it's not going to I don't think it's going to help prevent acts of terror or anything. I don't think that it's going to help prevent like another 9/11 or something. Right. Like I honestly don't think that I know a lot of other like policies that would stop those types of things from happening. Number one would be stop fucking meddling in the Middle East 24/7. Stop having our attack dog Israel go out there and destabilize the region 24/7. Those are two right off the top of my head that would, significantly reduce the risks of, a quote unquote terror attack. But I don't believe that FISA in any way helps prevent that. And I don't even think that's the goal of FISA. I think that the primary goal is to surveil the public and look for anybody who try to find people who are opposed to the structural powers of the pedo-billionaires of America. Like, I think that that's the primary goal. They will find any groups that they can through this through things like FISA and various other surveillance acts and stuff, and then infiltrate those, like the groups that want to oppose the unlimited profit capturing by our pedo-billionaires, and then they will send in the FBI to try to arrest them for whatever they can possibly find. Like, I think that that's the primary goal of things like FISA and why people should be opposed to it. And also, all of you, I don't even know what happened to the libertarian right, because I feel like they just do not exist anymore. There were all these don't tread on me people back in the day who always constantly were signaling that if the government came after them, they would if the government violated their rights, well, they're going to take up arms against the government. And then it's like the government is out here has been constantly impeding on all of the amendments, all of our rights for decades now at this point, and they still haven't done anything about it. And a lot of them honestly tend to just be on board for things like FISA and various surveillance surveillance apparatuses, or AI mass surveillance, or Palantir or whatever, right? Like a lot, I never hear them ever complaining about this shit, and that's why I know they're all completely full of shit, because they generally, I think, don't view those things as like, I think that honestly they're just too propagandized and don't view those things as like oppressing them or whatever. And rather they view it as oppressing their like political adversaries, and therefore they don't really care that much. But at the very least, it's good that maybe some Republicans voted against it, voted against this as well. I hope that all of the Democrats did, and I'm hoping that like we just need to get rid of this shit, man. Seriously. Like I think that the theory is that they use it to spy on, I'm trying to like read some of this on the side. Like they use FISA to spy on like foreign, like phones, websites, whatever, right? Like wiretapping authorities, essentially being able to listen in on like foreign people or foreign people's phones or internet or whatever without a warrant. And then that just happens to, you know, basically everybody is like everybody is communicating with everybody all the time under the internet. So you can basically then use that idea that you're tapping foreign phones, and instead you will end up getting communications with American citizens and stuff and breaking their civil rights and civil liberties. Like, I think that's kind of how a lot of it was set up. And like I said before, I just don't think it actually does anything when it comes to actually preventing like acts of terror, if that's what you're worried about. I don't think it really does anything for that.
And so this was a test vote to get past this early this morning. And what happened is that Democrats who had been a party to this bipartisan agreement, they pulled out. You had a number of Republicans who voted against this on this procedural vote. But the reason that the Democrats pulled out is they do not like the installation of Bill Pulte as the acting director of national intelligence. They don't think that he is qualified for that position, and so they knew on the Republican.
See, this is a dumb argument, though. Man, the Democrats, dude, you should be opposed to this on principle. Like, you should be opposed to it on principle. Like, this is like anything that is impeding on the rights of Americans, you should be opposed to on principle. Not because you don't like the current acting director or that you need a more responsible person to be in these terrible structures that oppress the masses, right? You need to be opposed to the structural oppression, not the individual person at the top of the structural oppression organization. You know what I'm saying?
Republican side of the aisle, there were going to be GOP no's, but they needed Democratic support, and they basically all backed out. This reform bill, this compromise here, would include a ban of a government-backed digital currency for 3 years, and House conservatives wanted a permanent ban on that. And it also would prohibit the FBI from using Section 702 of FISA against the prosecution of an American. So they thought they had an agreement there, and that all fell apart because of the Bill Pulte situation. Now, one thing I should note.
Yeah, well, I don't, man. Like, maybe if they made it so it was illegal to use against American citizens, let me think for a second. I'm just highly skeptical that that's how it would actually, like, that it wouldn't end up being brought in as evidence regardless, right? You're putting a lot of trust in our systems to enforce that, which I'm kind of skeptical, because I think that it would end up being used to then like these wiretappings would then be used and like funneled to the FBI, which would then, like, you know, begin infiltrating and launching an investigation into like dissident groups or whatever. Which like at that point, then they would just use all of the information from that they gather after the fact. Like, I don't think that that sort of, like, you know, that minor little hurdle right there in terms of using the information gathered from this sort of wiretapping, I don't really think that that actually will stop this from being used against American citizens.
Is that if you really get into the weeds on FISA, is that the program, the authorization expires, but what happens at the end of next week, the FISA court has indicated that they can still use the program. The question is whether or not that the telecommunications companies will continue to provide the data without the legal cover provided by Congress. So that's the issue right there. So whether or not they can put the genie back in the bottle on that and work out something in the next week.
Well, I got news. Everybody should launch a class action lawsuit if they don't. if those phone companies, if they don't like stop doing like allowing for this data and wire transfers to this organization after this expires, which by the way, I'm highly skeptical that they're going to actually let this expire, because this is so, I think this is so integral to upholding, or it's going to be even more integral in the future into upholding the profits of like, you know, trillionaires or whatever. Like, I think that they're going to end up passing this. But like if by some chance they don't, then yeah, there should be a class action lawsuit day one that the telephone companies are impeding on our rights to privacy by giving this information to the government without authorization.
Is very tough. Now, the other news this morning is that ICE and the Border Patrol, this is the last section of the government funding fight that stems back to last October, is now funded. They used this special process to go around a filibuster. They only needed a simple majority. They passed that. There was only one Republican no. That was Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. The House of Representatives late last night went out. They're not going to be in session today. They will have to sync up with the Senate next week, guys.
Wow, a lot going on. Ballroom funded or not?
Well, that's the issue. It's White House security is what it is here, and that's the one thing. There were a number of amendments. They had this Vote-O-Rama, as they call it, where they processed, amendments for about 16, 17 hours there, and that was one of the sticking points in this. Also, an effort by Democrats to say, look, is this weaponization fund, is that fully dead? There was an effort by Chuck Schumer very early on yesterday morning to block that, sending that back to committee to try to strip that out legally. So those were the two major things. But after a lot of consternation, they finally got that done. Remember, they were on the precipice of getting that done a couple of weeks ago, and they weren't pleased. Republicans weren't with, what Todd Blanche had to say about the weaponization fund.
All right, so it's not funded.
Not at this stage.
Copy.
I mean, there's White House security, yes. There is White House security, but this is specific to Border Patrol and ICE.
All right.
All right, so White House security would be that's $220 million. So $1 billion right? $1 billion he needed to finish the ballroom, but he only got $220 million.
Well, you see, and that's the issue.
Why do they care so much about the ballroom, dude? Get over the ballroom. Dude, they need to stop with the ballroom. They should not. Look, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice, Republicans. You should never, under any circumstances, mention the ballroom ever again. If you're going to go through with building this gaudy ass like monument to Donald Trump, then you should do it in the cover of darkness, because nobody wants to fucking hear about the ballroom. It's not important from a political perspective. So for people like me who are like terminally online politics people or whatever, don't give a shit about the ballroom because it's unimportant. But number two, everybody else, all the normies, just see a president who literally said that he does not care. He does not think about the Americans like, pocketbooks when he's making decisions on the Iran war or whatever, creating this like this gaudy gold-plated rich person monument while everybody is struggling to buy gas or buy food or like pay their mortgage. Like it's terrible. It's probably like one of the worst optics things that he could have possibly done. It's straight up Marie Antoinette, like let them eat cake shit. So you got to stop talking about the ballroom. I'm telling you, like I'm giving you this advice for fucking free. Please. I mean, I don't really care, I guess, if you keep talking about it. Like I said, like people hate that shit. So if you want to keep talking about it, sure, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But I'm just trying to let you know that it plays terribly.
Where Democrats wanted more clarity, and frankly, some Republicans. What is this used for? They viewed that on both sides of the aisle as a little bit of a electrified issue, and they were a little bit leery about that. When they first put out the bill, they said this is just going to be about border security and ICE. And then what happened is you had the assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and they came back and they tried to put things in for the ballroom. The parliamentarian ruled that out of order, and so they put a little bit in there, but it's not the full thing.
Copy that.
Thanks so much, Chad.
So that's still in flux right now. All right, we'll be following that.
But
now,
that's great news, though. They funded security. First time.
Sure. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's do a little bit of Iran content. So I think I said at the beginning that I don't really think a whole lot has happened since the last time we talked. Lebanon, I know Hezbollah has been, fighting back hard. They dismissed any they were not party to the ceasefire negotiations and therefore did not agree to the ceasefire. At the same time, I think there's been some back and forth shots between Iran, Kuwait, Bahrain, and American Navy ships. I heard Iran had a hit on an American Navy ship. So I think that might have happened since the last time we talked. But let's go ahead and watch this video. I don't know how deep into the weeds they're going to get on like actual new events, or if this is just going to be straight up, like just based on the title. It says Jack Keane, we have to return to full combat. So I don't know if this is just going to be Fox News propaganda, warmongering, or if I hope that they'll at least somewhat talk about like what's going on over there.
All right. Iran is saying no tangible progress is being made in the peace talks as Hezbollah rejects the Israel-Lebanon truce. But President Trump says he's hearing something very...
Well, you should have. If you wanted Hezbollah to accept the truce, then you should have invited them to the negotiations. It's like Israel was negotiating with the Lebanese army, or like with Lebanon, which is essentially just like the Palestinian Authority for Lebanon. It is just a, Israeli Western-backed like puppet government so they were essentially just negotiating with themselves. The person you're fighting, the person you're at war with, is Hezbollah. So you should have invited Hezbollah if you wanted them to be, to accept the ceasefire. They should have been party to the negotiations, because obviously they weren't going to accept a ceasefire that they didn't agree to.
Very different. Watch.
I will tell you, they called us and they said, how about stopping? And I think you're going to see things happen over there. That's been like a little bit of a different world, but it's interconnected with Iran. And it would be really nice if Lebanon could have some peace.
And the president was referring to Hezbollah called him, but they don't want peace. Let's bring in four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute of Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, it looks like the whole thing is stalled, any of these peace talks. We're now in our 8th week. Where do you think of a ceasefire? It's supposed to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, first of all, let's just start with the fact that in close to 50 years, only one president has taken consequential action against Iran and their predator behavior in the region, and that's
yeah, we're finally understanding why, too. We're finally understanding why. Apparently it was unwinnable, which I assumed that it was unwinnable. At least I assumed that it was unwinnable as long as America didn't commit to doing like a full ground occupation. That's what I've always believed, is that this was never a like quote unquote winnable war from an air campaign alone, or like air naval campaign alone. And so I think that like they're just kind of finding out what I kind of understood from the beginning. If they did commit to a full ground occupation, I'm not saying it's a 100% chance of success, like that they would have been able to occupy the entirety of Iran. I think that it would have been very difficult. There would have been tens of thousands of lives lost. And I don't know if we would have had the political will as America to fight through that to actually end up in like an Afghanistan's type situation where we're occupying the government. But eventually we would have been pushed out anyway. So it's like, you could say it's not really a win in that regard either. But yeah, so I don't know. This guy, I think that they should be asking the question now, or like it should be they shouldn't even be asking the question. It should be obvious to them at this point why nobody else agreed to do this except for Donald Trump.
President Trump, obviously, 5 weeks of epic fury and a naval blockade has devastated this regime militarily and economically. But they're down and they're not out. And the truth is, they suggested we go into this diplomatic mode because when they shut down the Straits of Hormuz, they said we can work out a deal and we'll open it up in 2 weeks. Well, here we are 8 weeks later, they've never opened it up. And they keep kicking out the idea that we can make a deal. And I think we have to accept the reality that's just not going to happen. They have one motive in mind here: stretch out negotiations as much as possible.
Okay, so they're not going to make a deal. So now what? Now what then? We tried the bombing campaign, that failed. We tried the economic blockade, that failed. Like, they're not coming to the table. So now what? What else you got?
It's close to the political situation in terms of midterm elections, and there will be less likelihood that President Trump would ever pull the trigger and go back to military operations. I believe that is their unstated strategy, their public strategy. Oh, we're going to make a deal. We're interested in making one. I think we have to accept after 8 weeks, this is really not going to happen. And even if we did make a deal, we can't throw them a financial lifeline that'll help them to recover financially, because then they'll be systematically in time reverse everything that they signed on a dotted line.
Well, then I guess no more oil getting onto the global markets. Then I guess we get rolling blackouts in Europe. I guess we get a complete demand, like, supply crunch, and we get like $10 a gallon gas in America. I guess that's the only option then at this point, because I got news for you. Iran does control the strait. They're going to continue to control the strait, and they will continue to block oil from getting out onto the market so long as we stay there and try to blockade it ourselves. So I guess that just means that we're just doomed to that scenario, at which point the political consequences, I think, would be far too great for America, and they would be forced into accepting all of Iran's negotiating positions. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. There's no way out of this. America has no way out of this.
Line saying they would do, and we know that because they've always cheated in the past and they'll cheat in the future. I think we've got to come to the reality that we have to return to military operations. When we stop, we had about 2 weeks left.
That worked so well last time, everybody. I don't know. It feels like these people keep forgetting that Iran was cleaning our clock during the actual military portion, like the hot war portion of this. Iran, like, I think they said 80 to 90% of their drones and missiles are still available to be used. So like they still have 80 to 90% of their capacity. I guess we sunk a bunch of their boats. Okay. Those boats weren't that significant of a, I don't think Iran didn't prepare their entire military to like protect their naval assets, or to protect their, their air force or whatever. They created their entire economy and their entire, country around protecting their, missiles and drones, like in these huge under mountain programs, like drone and missile production programs that are completely built underground, and even multiple nukes would not be able to like affect them, right? So so they still have 90% of their missiles after that hot war, and yet America, like 80 to 90, I guess. And yet America went through 50% of its missiles and 50% of its stockpiles. And it'll take America decades to build those stockpiles back up. Like, America isn't capable of producing jack shit. So, going back to war, like to a hot war, I think it would literally be even worse for America than the current situation. Like, I think if we went back into a hot war, we could last another 2 to 3 weeks before our interceptors and missiles get critically low, to the point where we would have to just stop firing them, or else we would end up running out and not have them for ourselves and any future conflict, right? Which, who knows, maybe we'll even go through all of those ones too, just to protect Israel. It seems like we care more about protecting Israel than protecting ourselves at this point. So we could go to war for another 2 to 3 weeks, and then at that point we would have to just stop firing missiles. And then we would just have to eat like just eat Iranian missiles daily forever, like because they can keep producing them way faster than we can produce missile interceptors. So we would just have to eat Iranian missiles indefinitely until we agreed to a ceasefire. So I don't think that like going back into a hot war, I think it would literally be even worse than the current situation for America in terms of having a like bargaining position.
And the IDF and Central Command believes they have 10 to 14 days left to be able to finish offensive operations that were assigned to them. And now we actually have more targets. And the reason is because we've been monitoring them for 8 weeks. We have lots of intelligence. And obviously, they've been recovering their military capability during these 8 weeks.
Like, and also more targets does not equate to like that. I don't understand this philosophy either. They think that like if we just keep creating more targets to hit, this is a classic folly of empires. It's like if we just create more targets, create more like artificial things that we can like that we're creating in our head, that if we shoot them, then it's going to somehow change the strategic trajectory of the war. That's just not how it works. These people are delusional.
Is all as well, but we've been monitoring that. So what I'm suggesting is if we go back to military operations, and I believe that's the preferred option, I think we should return to full combat operations. There's going to be suggestions we just do a limited operation or a small operation to kind of get their attention. And here's the caution. The caution is Iran's going to retaliate regardless of whether we go small or go big. Let's go big, take down as much of their capabilities as we possibly can, and get these guys as close to collapse as a military operation can possibly achieve. And then with economic pressure.
No. No regime has ever collapsed from air power, man, from an Air Force campaign. And you have to understand, like, the only way, the reason that, like, regime change operations work when it comes to, like, CIA-backed coups and stuff inside of various, like, I don't know, Latin America countries in the past or whatever, right? The reason that these things work is because they're covert and because the population oftentimes is unaware of them and it's unaware of the strategies and goals of the American government. The moment you start doing a full hot war and start bombing a country, all of the people rally around the flag and they know who the enemy is. And so they're not going to rise up during a wartime. Like you would have to finish, like end the wartime situation, aka you would have to end the bombing campaign. You would have to remove all of your Navy assets from the region, and you would have to like agree to some sort of negotiated settlement with Iran. And then only after that would you potentially be able to do covert operations to like, and it would still have to be a while too for the citizens to like, not be like as aware and looking for these sorts of like infiltration operations and stuff, right? And to like be more willing to actually go up against their own government. Like you would have to wait, I'd say at least 5 to 10 years after that before you started doing your CIA operations to even have a chance of doing some sort of overthrow. But you're for sure not able to do that under wartime. That's delusional. So the going back to war, like I said, it's not. It would probably put America in an even worse position than they already are.
We can put this regime truly on a pathway to collapse. I think that is the best option in front of us.
General, from everything I've read and from what we've seen, I think it's the only option. The other thing that you've been monitoring close, and I always read the Institute of Study of War every single day. It comes out 2 or 3 times a day on all the hot spots in the world. And what Ukraine is doing is the most underreported, fantastic story in the world today. And now President Zelensky, in an open letter to Vladimir Putin, proposes a face-to-face meeting for a full ceasefire.
I'm going to be honest. Okay. Ukraine, I think, has what? They have been pushing back like slightly, I think, against Russia in the past like maybe week or so. I think that they have regained a small amount of territory. That is my understanding of what's gone on in Ukraine. It's such a nothing burger in the in terms of the full trajectory of that war. I showed the entire map of the battle or the battle lines over time of Russia, Ukraine yesterday. and it's just like there's no coming back from where they are. Ukraine is not going to be able to push Russia back, especially unless there's like a influx of troops from like Europe or something. Unless like Europeans start sending all of their 18 to 30-year-olds over to the front lines and start dying en masse. Like I don't think that there's any way that those battle lines are changing for like in a large amount for the foreseeable future.
As Russia continues to go after civilian targets because they can't hurt the military. Your thoughts about a one-on-one meeting, and maybe you should tell our audience.
I'm gonna probably skip this because I have another video I think later on for Russia Ukraine about this particular issue, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So they didn't really talk that much, I guess, about any recent actual military action or anything in Iran. That was just this guy's opinion of like, but I don't know. It's always good to try and, watch some of these propagandists like try to do their propaganda so that I can hopefully help try to debunk it in a lot of people's brains, because you got to be highly skeptical of these people and also use your brain too when you're trying to understand like what's likely to happen under these circumstances. So, okay. Let's move on to the big meat and potatoes of this stream. We're going to talk about Platner, everybody. This guy right here. Everybody's favorite former Antifa super soldier, former Nazi. Sorry. Okay, let me start over. Okay, we're going to talk about Graham Platner, everybody. Everybody's favorite former Nazi, former making women uncomfortable, former alcoholic, turned Antifa super soldier, Reddit commie poster, Graham Platner. Okay. And the reason we got to talk about him is because we got a new hit piece. We got a new hit piece from New York Times. So I've already watched people cover this, so I generally know what all is inside of this New York Times article. But I am going to start by just reading it, and then I'll give my analysis as I go. It is like, kind of a doozy. I won't lie. It's kind of a doozy. Like, we're going to be reading for a little while. But then we're going to go over and watch Graham Platner's response over on MS Now. But I think it's important that we just read the article straightforward, just so that we can like get a baseline understanding of like what the actual quote unquote allegations are. So let's go ahead and the allegations are that he was uncomfortable to be around in some circumstances, is what I understand. But let's go ahead and read it, and we'll come to our conclusions as we go. This article is from the New York Times. It's called "Several Women Who Dated Graham Platner Recall Unsettling Behavior. The Democratic candidate for Senate in Maine could be charming," women said in interviews, "but some found his actions intimidating and disturbing." Ooh. Okay, by Katie Gluick and Lisa Lear. I'm gonna be completely honest. These two people, the fact that they wrote this story at all is kind of a red flag. I don't know. Maybe they should. I'm not saying take their journalism license away, but I'm saying like they might need to go to journalism timeout for a little bit. But let's go ahead and read it. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe this is super serious. Okay. On Tuesday evening, after whirlwind day in Washington, Graham Platner, the Democrat candidate, let's see. Let me see if this is all necessary to read. Okay, yeah, let's just read the whole thing, I guess. Rumors were spreading from Portland to the Potomac about Mr. Platner's messy personal life after news reports that he had sent sexual messages to women while married. That was what we saw before. I talked about that before. My opinion is that it in no way makes any difference when it comes to his actual policies, what he wants. It does make me a little bit more skeptical of him as a person to be trusted. However, you cannot engage in politics by just assuming everybody is lying. Like it's impossible. Even though we've been burned with Fettermans and Gillibrands before, it's impossible to go through, like, it's impossible to engage in politics if you are unable to trust literally anybody. Democratic senators were pressing him about whether more damaging revelations were coming. Journalists were swarming, staking out his hometown. Amid the turmoil, Mr. Platner worked the phones, rolling through calls to ex-girlfriends who might publicly acknowledge that while he may have been a bad boyfriend, he was, in fact, a decent guy. In interviews with the New York Times on Wednesday, several women did just that, describing Mr. Platner as a fun and caring partner and saying they felt safe with him. Some remained friends with him to this day, years after their relationship ended. But in extensive conversations over the past 2 months, 3 other women who had been romantically involved with Mr. Platner offered a far more complicated assessment describing volatile and quote-unquote toxic relationships that were unsettling and at times emotionally wrenching. Mr. Platner could be charming, charismatic, they recalled in interviews, but also demeaning to women, and in at least one case, even physically threatening. We'll get to that one case later. He drank heavily and was regularly unfaithful. So that's the part where he seems like he's just a messy dude. Like, honestly, like he had PTSD. He drank a lot. And I think that he probably was a hound dog, if I had to guess, given the sexting scandal and all that stuff. Is that I don't know if he's good at being faithful to one person. Maybe he's turned his life around with his wife. I don't know. But yeah. Mr. Platner, 41, a combat veteran, has spoken openly about grappling with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and drinking that he said has resulted from his time in the military, as revelations about him have surfaced, including his dismissive remarks online about rape. He was being, kind of an edgelord, edgelord dude back then. On Reddit. These are Reddit posts, by the way, and derogatory comments about women, as well as a tattoo he had that is widely recognized as a Nazi symbol. Widely recognized is... I mean, I'm going to be honest. I did not know that it was a Nazi symbol. I did not know what a Totenkopf was until after this whole thing. I think a lot of people are retroactively pretending like everybody knows what that is, where I honestly think like even his entire extended Jewish family, none of them knew what it was. Like, I don't think this before this actual instance took place. I'm going to be honest. I think like 95% of people would not have been able to recognize this as a Nazi tattoo. So being widely recognized as a Nazi tattoo is like, yeah, now after everybody reported on it. But anyway, he has said his past behavior does not reflect who he is today. Mainers, he has urged, should not judge him for the worst thing I said on the internet on my worst days 14 years ago. The critical accounts provided by 3 of the women interviewed by the Times who were each in romantic relationships with him for years, give a fuller picture of Mr. Platner's life. They shed light of an earlier era where he has acknowledged intense struggles, but also raised questions about his more recent years in Maine, which his campaign has presented as a period of healing and personal redemption. The disclosures last week that Mr. Platner, now married, was exchanging sexual messages with women as recently as last year have complicated that narrative and unnerved Democrats who see the Maine seat as key to their efforts to regain control of the Senate. They don't care about this. The people who are making that a thing, right? The people who are out there making that a thing, like in the media, they are trying to, I want to make people absolutely clear, and including this story as well, they are trying to attack him. They are trying to bring him down. The exchanging sexual messages, like inside of a relationship with somebody, virtual cheating, like, yes, you shouldn't do that. That's a bad thing to do to your partner. But it's not a political story, really. It's actually, I think, a relatively common problem with men, especially when it comes to like talking in like chat rooms and stuff with like cam girls or whatever. Like I don't think like that's that Like, I honestly think that's incredibly common. And then we also have like so many politicians out there who do so much worse than this shit, and they never get any of this like they never get any of this like scrutiny that Graham Platner does. So there's a reason that they're targeting him. But anyway, let's keep going. Lindsay Fifield. Okay, this is the person that I want to talk about the most. This person is straight up just a Republican operative. She works at the Heritage Foundation. And she worked at the Heritage Foundation. And I think she is actively working with the Susan Collins campaign as well, like if I remember correctly. I'll have to fact check that. Let me see. Lindsay Fifield, Susan Collins campaign connection. I'd have to fact check that, but I thought I saw that on Twitter. But anyway, so I want to be very clear where this is coming from, that this is straight up a Republican operative. I don't even know if she actually dated him or not. I haven't heard Graham Platner's, whether he has, claimed that they actually dated in the past or not. Anyway, Lindsay Fifield, 40, a Virginia conservative who has worked for right-leaning groups and Republican campaigns, recalled him as cavalierly contemptuous of women's emotions, of our weakness. Miss Fifield, who dated Mr. Platner from 2013 to 2015, so what, that was like 12 years ago, said that his offensive online posts reminded me of just how much he hated women. Okay. he was dismissive about, or like he did say like bad things on the internet about women. He's also apologized for that and said that he was, just like being a edgelord like Reddit person, but yes, he did say, that bad things about women. And you can take that into consideration if you want in terms of how trustworthy you think he is. Jenny Rassicott, 41, a Maine Democrat, who said she dated him casually off and on. You'll notice also, at the very least, 40 and 41. Hey, that's better than a lot of politicians. A lot of politicians, it's like 18 or younger. You know what I'm saying? So at least he's in the, the right age group, I would say. Jenny Rassicott, 41, a Maine Democrat who said she dated him casually off and on between 2019 and 2021, said the post deepened her belief that he did not respect women. When I saw the old comments that he made online, she said, I recognized a version of him that I had experiences with. Some of the women also raised questions about his trustworthiness. Mr. Platner's insistence that he did not know that his tattoo was a Nazi symbol until it became a campaign issue last fall was simply not true. Miss Fifield said, after all, Miss Fifield said, so Miss Fifield, so the Republican operative said that he actually did know that it was a Totenkopf tattoo. After all, she said, he had taught her the word for it years earlier, referring to it as my Totenkopf. I'm going to be honest, I'm highly skeptical of that. I'm highly skeptical of this. Everything this Miss Fifield girl says, I'm going to take it with like a grain of salt, a huge grain of salt, because she straight up is like a Republican operative. Like, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Sorry, one sec. His campaign strongly denied that he knew what the tattoo stood for, and in a statement to the Times, Mr. Platner said he had too often self-medicated with alcohol and was far from a perfect boyfriend during what he described as a very dark period of my life. So yeah, he was also, kind of a drunk. I take responsibility for all that and wish I had been better. He said any characterization beyond that is false and I believe politically motivated. I'm not proud of who I was then, but I am proud of the work I've done since and the movement we are building in Maine. So according to Graham Platner, this is all just a, he wasn't he's admitting that he wasn't exactly the best boyfriend back then. He admitted that he had a drinking problem. And I don't know if he straight up admitted that he, maybe engaged in extra, cheating or whatever. I don't think so far, at least he's, admitted that, but yeah. Let's keep going. This article is based on interviews with more than 24 people, including, 24, including 6 women who had been romantically involved with Mr. Platner. The Times spoke with friends or acquaintances of several of the women, reviewed contemporaneous text and social media messages, and saw some of Miss Fifield's diary entries. Mr. Platner declined to be interviewed for the article. So reviewed at the time text and social media messages, and saw this Fifield's girl's diary entries. The woman who described difficult relationships with Mr. Platner knew him at different points of his life. Miss Fifield says she dated him starting when they were both in their late 20s in Washington, during a time Mr. Platner has described as challenging. Miss Resicott knew him in Maine when they were in their mid-30s, and he was living in Sullivan, Maine, and working on his oyster farm. The third woman, a Democrat from Maine who spoke on the condition of anonymity, had a long-distance relationship with Mr. Platner on and off for years, as recently as 2016. The 3 described him in similar terms. Spending time with him could be exhilarating, they said, but they also recounted patterns of heavy drinking and womanizing. As to sum up, so just like the average Republican, the average Republican and Democrat in Congress, just asked to sum up how he treated her. The third woman said she felt like collateral damage to the world that is his. When Miss Fifield first met Mr. Platner in 2013, he was a student at George Washington University, and she was working on veterans issues at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and beginning to make a name for herself as a conservative activist online. They're roughly, see, that's a red flag to me more than anything, is that that Platner was like dated a fucking conservative activist. Like, that is a huge red flag to me. Granted, I think that he was younger back then in 2013. I don't know exactly how old he is, but and it seems like, in my opinion, if I had to give my assessment of Platner's like political ideology, I think he started out as just a normal like reactionary American, like reactionary apolitical American. And then over time, he found his ideology as he like grew up and became more of like a commie, like I always joke Antifa super soldier, but he became like a commie, like socialist, like what's it called, like socialist second amendment organization or whatever, the gun owner, like socialist gun owner organization. Like, he became that kind of guy, I think, as he grew up, is kind of my understanding. So maybe it's possible that back when he was just like a average run-of-the-mill reactionary American, he may have dated this conservative activist. But their roughly 2-year on-again, off-again relationship, as Miss Fifield described it, was heady and passionate. Lindsay, I love you in a way I can't even describe, he texted her in 2016, according to a message reviewed by the Times. Aw, you are literally everything to me. Aw. She said she recognized that Mr. Platner was struggling with the aftermath of his military service and thought she could help him. Miss Fifield, who was navigating family challenges at the time, recalls that period as emotionally rocky for her too. Mr. Platner could be rough with her, Miss Fifield said, particularly when they were drinking, leaving her shaken and sometimes afraid. In the interviews, Miss Fifield grappled with how to process her experiences. She was quick to note that he never hit me, he never punched me. Okay, so he's never, hit any of these people. That's good to know. But she said he regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks. That seems intentionally vague, in my opinion. And as a Republican operative, you're going to be getting a lot of scrutiny for these types of things. You're going just so far as to not like instigate like a defamation lawsuit, right? Like, you're saying, oh, he never hit me, but he did like grab my shoulders a little rough sometimes, and it even left marks sometimes, which are like impossible to prove things, obviously, unless someone took pictures of it, I guess. So like, that sort of intentional vagueness is, something to notice. And on one occasion, yanked her out of a cab by her wrist after an argument when she wanted to stay in the car. I mean, look, that's not a good thing to do. You shouldn't do that. Okay. You shouldn't do that to your significant other. But I will say this isn't that, like, when multiple people are drunk and out, it's not an uncommon situation for the people to get into like fights with each other, like for people in a relationship, especially in a somewhat like hot and cold, everybody knows their messy friends, right? I mean, I can't be the only one who has like messy friends who, like, when they both get drunk, then they like will get into like fights with each other, or one of them will always end up like, crying or something, right? Like one will end up yelling at the other, and the other person will end up crying. Like, this isn't like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, while even, and this is a big if, even if this actually happened, to me, it's not an irredeemable act, right? He didn't actually hit her. He didn't actually, he didn't actually, like, I don't know. Like there's levels of degrees of this, right? And we should always, we need to be serious when we say like people can be redeemed, right? There are, like, I think, yes, there are some unredeemable acts. Okay. There are some irredeemable acts. I do not believe that this is one of them. Grabbing an arm, if like while you're both drunk or something, I do not believe that that is an irredeemable act. And that's, again, a big if on if this Republican operative is actually telling the truth. Mr. Platner strongly disputes any claims of physical intimidation or altercations. His campaign said the Times could not independently corroborate Ms. Fifield's account of altercations. Which, again, why are you writing the article then? You shouldn't write this article unless you can. Well, okay, I'm going to be honest. You shouldn't write this article at all, because it's not a real, like, it's not a real thing. Like, this isn't you would never write this article for anybody else unless you had an ulterior motive. So you shouldn't write it at all, but you definitely shouldn't alter it if you can't, or you shouldn't write it if you can't, like, actually verify this from other sources as well. Ms. Fifield also recalled that Mr. Platner's displays of weaponry and discussions of violence sometimes left her uneasy. Again, that's just every Republican. Every single Republican and a lot of Democrats are are fans of guns. They have guns, they shoot guns, and we live in America. Everybody is incredibly violent and engages in incredibly violent rhetoric all the time. That's just normal. That's like I'd say like 60% of American relationships, this happens in. A woman being slightly uncomfortable with their spouse or significant others, obsession with their guns and thoughts of violence. Like, I'm going to be honest. I think that's like 60% of relationships in America. She said he kept an AR-15 lying around his apartment on Capitol Hill. Hey, Second Amendment lover, patriot. And would sharpen an axe, a relic from his time working on the Appalachian Trail before he enlisted in the Marines, while watching television. He had what she described as a warrior ethos. I mean, are they trying to make Republicans fall in love with this dude? Every single thing that they brought up so far is like something that I'm pretty sure, like I said before, like at least 60%, but when it comes to chuds, like 90% of chuds have probably gone through every single thing that she has said. Like they probably will identify even more with Graham Platner after this. It's like they're trying to get him elected, honestly. While watching television, or a relic from his time working on the Appalachian Trail before he enlisted in the Marines, while watching television. That's, again, just good old boy behavior. That's good old American chud behavior. He had what she described as a warrior ethos and would fantasize about killing people he deemed a threat. She said, again, we live in America. That's like 90% of men. She said he told her that rape was about power. I mean, that's objectively true. Rape is about power. It was something that stuck with her through the years, Miss Fifield said. He said this a lot. If anybody ever broke in here, I would rape them. A weird thing to say. That's a very weird thing to say. I think this is probably, he's like in a power fantasy. Like, he's in a fantasy inside of his head of like like blustering about what he would do to what he would do to someone who invaded his house or something. Again, we live in America. A whole lot of people like this last part's really weird. I would rape them. That is really weird to say. But a whole lot of people fantasize about like people breaking into their house and getting to like legally like kill a person, right? Like it happens all the like a lot of people in America like think that. I'm not gonna lie. She recalled saying that he added that it would not be in a sexual way, not in a gay way. How woke of him. He was like, I would rape them to show them I'm dominant. She said, it's still just a really weird thing to say. Generally speaking, a really weird thing to say. Asked about those remarks, a Platner campaign official did not dispute them. A friend who knew Mr. Platner and Miss Fifield during that period said the comments sounded out of character. Mr. Platner, who had overlapping relationships with other women while he and Miss Fifield dated, also referred to women as hatchet wounds. Miss Fifield said, a crude term for female anatomy. I've never heard that term before in my entire life. That might be edgelord Reddit shit. I'm not a big Redditor, so I don't really know. I don't know a lot of that sort of stuff. The Times reviewed text between Miss Fifield and Mr. Platner, along with Google chat exchanges, text and Facebook messages between Miss Fifield and her friends during and after the relationship. The Times also reviewed some of Miss Fifield's diary entries from after the relationship had ended and spoke with two of her old friends who confirmed that the pair had an emotionally volatile relationship, but could not corroborate the physical altercations or the most controversial comments she described. Okay, so at least they are confirming, it looks like. They confirmed with another person that they actually were in a relationship, right? And I guess these pictures are like this picture. Yeah, this shows them together, right? So it is confirmed that they were actually in a relationship. Platner, you got to get better taste in women. Hopefully you've gotten there by now. This was like 12 years ago. But Republican operatives are not, not always the best choice. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so they couldn't corroborate any of the most controversial things, like the grabbing of the only thing here that I would say is, would be something that would be like something more serious, I guess, would be grabbing the argument or grabbing the arm, right? Like grabbing the arm, this shoulder thing, okay. Sure, maybe. I don't understand what they mean by grabbed her by the shoulders. So these physical acts, I would say, yes, those are, if those are true, would be bad, but not disqualifying in my mind. A relic from, where was I? I was way past that. Okay, we're moving down here. Ms. Fifield says she did not expect her friends to offer that corroboration because she did not tell anyone at the time, saying she had been embarrassed. That is a common occurrence when it comes to people who have experienced violence, from their significant other. Like they do feel embarrassed. It's just, I'm skeptical because you're a Republican op. Like that's the reason that I'm skeptical of this stuff. I want to be absolutely clear. I tell people all the time, I'm a believe women kind of guy, right? I do by default believe women or believe women. Clay believe woman. No, but I do by default believe women. But you have to use your brain. There are situations where you shouldn't believe women. Like don't clip that, but there are. For instance, if you grew up during the Jim Crow era and a white woman in the South claims rape against a black man, I would say you should not by default believe that woman because there are systematic, oppressive forces, and that has historically allowed like white women to weaponize feminism against black people in order to get them lynched or in order to get them killed or in order to get them thrown in jail. There's a long historical precedent of these things being like weaponized. The good, honest intentions that people have being weaponized in order to facilitate evil, right? This has happened. Another recent one was Kareem Khan, the ICC investigator, who, as soon as he started investigating Israel, had a sexual assault allegation against him. It was literally like the day it happened. The day he decided to investigate Israel, there was a sexual assault allegation, and then it was completely proven to be false, right? Like it was proven to be completely false and completely unsubstantiated. Another situation, and this might be controversial, were those the October 7th rapes that allegedly happened, because there still has not been a single investigation into it, and there has been a long historical precedent of colonizers and oppressors claiming rape against the people that they are colonizing in order to justify genocide, apartheid, and various other crimes against humanity. Like, so you don't have to take all of those situations seriously, or you don't have to believe them in the same regard as you would just a normal everyday person who is going up against like the systemic structural oppression of patriarchy, right? An everyday person who alleges rape, you should believe. But if they are a person who is alleging like sexual abuse like this, or this isn't even alleging sexual abuse, this is alleging kind of semi, like being a little too, like, what am I saying? Like grabbing the arm while drunk or something, right? Like it's not like abuse, I guess, so it's not the same exactly, but you have to take into consideration that this is a person like Graham Platner is a person who is at least claiming that he is going to materially challenge the capitalist class of our system, right? He is going to materially fight for like taking the money, or like reducing the amount of wealth that the top 1% can hoard. And that's going to get a lot of people to be his enemies, a lot of very powerful people to be his enemies, and to do everything they can to stop him, right? That's assuming they seem to believe it, right? I tell people that I'm skeptical of Graham Platner because of the Blackwater stuff in the past, and because of, you know, the cheating and that sort of stuff. I'm skeptical of him like turning into a Kristen Gillibrand or whatever. But what was I going to say after that? Oh man, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, but there's forces out there who are trying to stop him, and they seem to believe that Graham Platner is serious. And because of that reason, because like the media, the Zionist lobby, like the corporate-backed politicians, because they all seem to seriously be afraid of Graham Platner getting into the Senate. Like, they seem to think that he is sincere about his beliefs and his like commie posting or whatever, right? Like, that's why I'm like, okay, these things do not have to be taken as seriously, because if you challenge power enough, it's inevitable that they're going to try to like lie and smear you. So anyway, sorry, that was a big diatribe, but I wanted to like kind of go over that because we're talking about Miss Fifield right here, who is like the least trustworthy out of all of these people. Anyway, the impact of the relationship on Miss Fifield's life lingered for years, she said. She referred to him in a diary entry in June 2016 as the most toxic, literally abusive man on earth who destroyed my life. Now, she says literally abusive. I think I'm going to take that literally as the colloquial use of the term literally, which doesn't actually mean literally. I mean, I'm going to be, unless like she's being serious about it. It's hard to tell, but most people, when they say literally, don't actually mean literally. Those close to her encouraged her to move on. Do not call Graham, a friend messaged her that year. Miss Fifield, who is affiliated with Independent Women, a conservative group, insisted that her political beliefs had nothing to do with her choice to come forward. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. She worked briefly on Nikki Haley's 2024 presidential campaign, and before that for the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. Miss Fifield said she had not been paid by any campaign or political entity since Miss Haley's campaign. Mr. Platner's campaign said in a statement, "Let's be very clear. This is a lifelong GOP operative who has dedicated her career to electing Republicans." Ms. Fifield said she had no connection to the campaign of Senator Susan Collins. That was what I was curious about, is if she actually did have connection to the Susan Collins campaign, Mr. Platner's likely Republican opponent. She acknowledged that Independent Women had been supportive of Ms. Collins, but said she had not been active with the organization recently. When did she leave Independent Women? 2024 maybe was when she stopped, like 2 years ago. But so Independent Women, the organization that she used to work with, I guess before 2024, worked with Susan Collins. So she is straight, like, honestly, she has like an actual connection to working for the campaign of Susan Collins. So that also obviously puts her in a much less trustworthy position. I knew it. I know it looks like a bitter ex-girlfriend Republican trying to take down a Democrat. It has nothing to do with that, Ms. Fifield said. If he was running as a Republican, I would be doing this exact same thing. I honestly don't think so. I really don't. I really don't think so. Carrie Lucas, the president of Independent Women, because there's so many Republicans. Everything that they allege of Graham Platner, like he would literally be the saint of the Republican Party. Like he would, like, compared to like just the average Republican, he is probably like a saint compared to the average Republican. I mean, they got who is that one Paxton who just got elected? Like, didn't he like free a pedophile? Like, right? And also, didn't he's had some allegations against him as well, I think. Let me see. Securities fraud. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Maybe there's no allegations against him. Anyway, I'm just saying, like what even Miss Fifield has alleged here is just like not even the average like Republican. Like the average Republican has done significantly worse. That's why I'm like, I don't think that she would actually come forward for this if it was like just a Republican candidate. Carrie Lucas, the president of Independent Women, said Miss Fifield had never been an employee and was last paid by the organization in 2022. Okay, so she left that 4 years ago. The total amount she was paid, Miss Lucas said, was roughly $15,000 over 2021 and 2022. Mr. Platner's campaign arranged interviews for the Times with 3 other women who dated him over a period of 7 years and all support his candidacy. They described a very different kind of relationship. Caroline Lemp, who dated Mr. Platner for several months in 2013, described him as a gentle giant. So they're going to go over now, I guess, the rest of the people, right? Miss Fifield is the only one with a whole bunch of like actual, you could say actual allegations, but again, they're not the most serious of allegations. Caroline Lemp, who dated Mr. Platner for several months in 2013, described him as a gentle giant. She said he never made her feel unsafe or showed any signs that he was struggling with the physical or mental effects of his military service. He was a great boyfriend, said Miss Lemp, 36, who now lives in St. Louis. Hey, St. Louis reference. Hell yeah. Cool. Miss Lemp. He was super kind, very nice, fun. The others who spoke on the condition of anonymity said Mr. Platner was never physically threatening. One, a nurse from Belfast, Maine, who dated him for a couple months after he returned home to Maine, described him as responsible, intelligent, and supportive. Another, who dated him in Washington between roughly 2011 and 2013, said she witnessed some potentially problematic behavior, referring to his heavy drinking, but she felt really safe with him. Yeah, I mean, also, it kind of depends on the person, too. Like, some people, I'm going to be honest, some girls, they want a guy like this. Like a guy who's like, like gun obsessed, or like, loves holding on to his gun, cleaning his gun, fantasizing about the violence he can commit against like a home intruder or whatever. Like, there's a lot of girls out there who are like, that's like the kind of dude they want, too. But I'm not saying that he was like that to all of these people. Like maybe he, toned down his like, that sort of stuff with the other girls too. Who knows? My Totenkampf. I think it would be mein Totenkampf. If you're doing German. Last fall, a few months after announcing his campaign for Senate, Mr. Platner said that he had learned from news media inquiries that the tattoo on his chest was widely recognized as a Nazi symbol, and he moved to cover it, aka instantly rectifying the situation. Mr. Platner said that he didn't know what the image was, neither did I, other than a terrifying looking skull and crossbones on the wall of a tattoo parlor in Split, Croatia. Yeah, there's a lot of Nazi, like, Croatia, like from what I understand, has a relatively large amount of like Nazi paraphernalia, like Nazi. I want to say Nazis, just Nazis in general. Let me see if I can look up Croatia Nazi Association. Like Nazi groups and stuff, I thought. The Ustaše, is that what it is? Ustasha was a Croatian fascist and ultranationalist organization active as one between 29 and 45. But yeah, I think that there's like a relatively large like Nazi population in Croatia, or like Nazi groups, I guess I should say, in Croatia. And that's, that's why it wouldn't be that, I would expect there to be tattoo parlors with Totenkopf in it. Where he and other, so on the wall of a tattoo parlor in Split, Croatia, where he and other Marines in his unit had it done in 2007. It was not until I started hearing from reporters and DC insiders that I realized this tattoo resembled a Nazi symbol. Mr. Platner told Politico in a statement in October, I absolutely would not have, okay, I already know all this. Oh, okay, it goes into something after that. I absolutely would not have gone through life having this on my chest if I knew that, and to insinuate that I did is disgusting. Like I said, he hung out shirtless with his entire Jewish extended family, and nobody knew that it was a Totenkopf. That's what I'm saying. I think people are just making it up when they say this is like obviously a Nazi symbol. I didn't know it's a Nazi symbol, and I consider myself relatively well versed in like Nazi Nazi lore. Miss Fifield called that a lie. Mr. Platner, she said, knew when they were dating years ago that the tattoo was a Nazi symbol, and they called it my Totenkopf. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I would still take that heavily skeptically because it's this Fifield girl again. I would never have known what that was. She said he would joke about it being a Nazi tattoo. Miss Fifield said he told her that this like, if this was true, it would just make me more skeptical of him, right? That he's going to govern in the way that he is, projecting out into the world, in the same way his BlackRock stuff does. Like, but like I said at the beginning, you can't go through, like, you have to, in some ways, have faith that people who are running for office are, telling the truth when they're speaking. You can't just assume everybody's lying about everything. Otherwise, there's no point to engaging in politics whatsoever. Ms. Fifield said he told her that he and other members of his unit selected the tattoo because they were like a death unit. They were killers, and saw a parallel between their unit and the Nazi Schutzstaffel, or SS unit, that uses the skull and crossbones image. That just seems so specific. Like, can you imagine, like, if you were talking to your girlfriend and you were like, oh yeah, I got this tattoo. Me and my boys got it specifically because we liked how it was tied directly to the SS unit, the Schutzstaffel, during the Nazi era in Germany. That is exactly why we liked it so much. It was because it was a Nazi associated image, and not because it was like, it looked like a cool skull. It was a skull. It was 100% because it was associated with the Nazis. Like, that's what it kind of sounds like here. They literally deliberately selected it because it was relevant to their military unit, she said. I also, honestly, I wouldn't put it past the other members of his unit, and even, I mean, maybe him too. I don't know. I kind of believe him. I think that he didn't know it was a Nazi unit, but I wouldn't put it past like maybe one of the members of his unit knowing what it was and being like, let's get that one, guys. And then not like, not being super honest about what it was. I wouldn't put that past him, because there are probably a lot of Nazis in the American military who know more about that imagery than even I do. Maybe that was Platner. Who knows? He got it covered up, and he's still better than Susan Collins. They literally deliberately selected it because it was relevant to their military unit, she said. Mr. Platner strongly disputes Miss Field's account of what he knew about the tattoo and what he told her. His campaign said. His campaign noted that he had not hidden his tattoo since receiving it, taking off his shirt in photos at the beach and at the gym. That's all very true, right? He was never hiding it, which you'd think that if he was sure that it was a Nazi symbol, like he would, try to hide it, especially around his Jewish extended family. I lived my entire life like a regular person with a skull and crossbones on their chest, he said on a liberal podcast in October after showing a video of him dancing shirtless at his brother's wedding. His brother, by the way, is the one, this wedding was the one where he was marrying a Jew and their entire extended family was there. At no point in his entire experience of my life did anybody ever once say, hey, you're a Nazi. In a private chat group, okay, we already know all this. Give me the new stuff. Months before Platner acknowledged the tattoo. Okay, in a private chat group last summer, months before Mr. Platner acknowledged the tattoo himself, Ms. Fifield told friends that her ex-boyfriend turned Senate candidate has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. In a private chat group last summer, months before Platner acknowledged the tattoo himself, Fifield told friends that her ex-boyfriend turned Senate candidate has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. So was she the one who started this story then? Is that what she's saying? She was the one who started this informed people that it was a Totenkopf tattoo and found the images and stuff to then post online to then start this controversy. Is that what they're saying? Like she was the first one to actually post this to the media? That's not a good look. Like it says in a private, okay, it was a private chat group. She didn't post it on the internet. She posted it to her friends. Okay. It's a Totenkopf, she told them on August 20th, according to a screenshot she shared with the Times, an actual one. She's only talking about it now, though. She's only talking about it after the campaign started. Like there's only records of her mentioning it as a Totenkopf after he started running for Congress. So that's another thing to be skeptical of. I will personally go campaign for Collins, she wrote. Two of her friends reacted with a crying, laughing emoji. The comment was a joke, Miss Fifield told the Times. Records show no evidence of any relationship between Miss Fifield. And also, I don't know the timeline. It says before Platner acknowledged the tattoo himself. Like, it may have been that it was already out, but he just hadn't acknowledged it yet. That's another possibility. Records show no evidence of any relationship between Miss Fifield and the Collins campaign. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, we'll finish off this article. There's only one more section. I assume they're going to talk more about the other girls because so far they've said we've had 3 girls say that he was the best boyfriend they've ever had. And we have 1 girl who said that he grabbed her arm once and rubbed her shoulders too hard. Throughout, so a complex narrative. Sorry, grabbed her shoulders too hard. I shouldn't characterize. Throughout his campaign, Mr. Platner has presented his life as a story of recovery and personal growth. He's described himself as self-medicating and drinking heavily and becoming very emotionally distant during his time in the military, which ended in 2012, he says, and the years immediately afterwards. A relationship with a girlfriend while he was serving in the Marines totally fell apart because I was just a wreck of a human being, he said in an interview with the Times last month. Then in 2016, he returned to his small hometown, Sullivan, Maine. With therapy from the Department of Veteran Affairs, hell yeah, VA. I love the VA. He got treatment for PTSD, anxiety, and depression and began to build a new life. In 2018, he took over an oyster farm from a family friend. This literally does sound like a fucking movie. A machine gunner who, had a messy past, was an alcoholic, messy relationships, gets his shit together, moves to his small hometown in Maine, becomes an oyster farmer, and finds redemption. It literally sounds like a fucking movie. Still, he stayed active on Reddit, offering a glimpse into his unvarnished thinking in more than 1,400 messages between 2016 and 2021, when he said he would stop posting many of his online... okay, come on. Okay, so I'll just keep reading. Whatever, we're almost done. I keep wanting to be like, I want to skip these parts because I just want to hear the new stuff. I already know a lot of this. Many of his online messages indicate that Mr. Platner was still processing his experiences in the military. Others focused on oyster farming and the joys of life in Maine. By 2021, he wrote he no longer believed in any of that patriotic nonsense. Hell yeah, brother. Join the anti-American unpatriotic left. That made him want to enlist and become a firm believer that the best thing a person can do is help their neighbors and live a loving life. That's sweet. I'm a vegetable growing, psychedelics taking socialist these days, he wrote. Still got the guns, though. I don't trust the fascists to act politely. He has since said he abhors political violence. Well, that's not political violence. Keeping the guns for self-protection against the government, that's not political violence. What are they talking about? That's the entire, like, conceivable argument for the second amendment is to have them so that you can mow down fascists when they come to your fucking doorstep. Like, that's literally the entire premise of the Second Amendment. That's the whole reason it exists. That's not political violence. The political violence is the fascists coming down to, like, the political violence is the fascists coming to your doorstep and trying to black bag you and your family, right? That's the political violence. Defending against that political violence with a gun is not an act of political violence. That is an act of resistance. Like that's just a silly phrasing, I guess they put in there. But his relationship with women have remained complicated. In November 2023, Mr. Platner married Amy Gertner, a former teacher from near his hometown. 1 year later, an anonymous Facebook user went on private page called "Are We Dating the Same Guy?" And shared an image of Mr. Platner smiling broadly and sporting a t-shirt while line drawings of oysters. Ghosted me in the past, read the message dated November 4th, 2024, then popped up on a different dating app. I'm concerned he may have a significant other out there. The comments drew replies from at least 6 women, several of whom noted that he was married, according to screenshots posted by the Main Wire, a conservative media outlet. Miss Rassicott, who was one of the women who commented on the chain, confirmed that the post was real, as did a second woman who, what is this? Ghosted me in the past. Like, I don't understand what they're talking about here. This seems like a nothing burger. He popped up on a different dating app. Okay, so he popped up on a different dating app while married is what this post, I think, seems to be. As did a second woman who commented on it. Asked about the post in a follow-up interview this spring, Miss Rassicott, who said she agreed with many of Mr. Platner's policies, said she had an off-and-on relationship with Mr. Platner and had positive memories. But she was not shocked, she said, when she saw the incendiary comments he had made about women that had surfaced up during the campaign. I was like, that makes sense, she said. This person does not respect women. That seems like a canned quote. Like, they picked a very particular quote to characterize her in this way. Ms. Rassicott also said that in 2021, he arrived at her house drunk after she had asked him not to come over. She declined to elaborate, but said she cut off contact soon after that episode and found his behavior reckless and unsettling. Okay, that's another, like, you know, shouldn't do that, right? If a girl says don't come over, don't go over. Like, that's not a good thing to do. It obviously would make them feel unsafe, and especially if you're drunk, like that's a recipe for disaster when it comes to, like, most women's experiences, right? So he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that. I believe this woman a lot more, this Rassicott woman, because she's not a Republican political operative as far as I know. So he definitely should not have done that. Again, that is not an unredeemable thing, though. Last week, the Wall Street Journal and the Times detailed Ms. Gertner's efforts to warn his campaign staff about some potentially explosive information in the early days of his candidacy. Her husband, she said, had been exchanging sexual messages with multiple other women. Okay, so I didn't even know that that's how it went down. That Gertner, his wife, gave the campaign the information to, like, have it so that they would know about it. In case it came out later, I guess. So I was thinking that she gave it to, like, a friend or something who then leaked it to the media. But okay. Mr. Platner sought to discredit aspects of the report, but acknowledged that Amy and I went through something hard because of me. And Ms. Gertner, who had become a more visible presence in his campaign in recent weeks, posted a direct-to-camera video defending her husband and her marriage. No marriage is perfect, and I don't want a perfect marriage, she said. I want my marriage, and I want to be married to Graham. Good for her. On Tuesday, Mr. Platner was asked by Democratic senators, like, it's not my place to judge if she wants to remain in a relationship after he engaged in, you know, virtual sexting. That's her decision to make. I just want to say once again, there's a lot of guys out there who get on, like, webcam chat bot or, like, chat places and stuff too, or whatever, or OnlyFans or whatever, right? You know, like, I'm just saying, this isn't like the end of the world, I think, when it comes, like, I personally think that this is a boundary that I would not want someone to break, right? But everybody has different boundaries as well. And also, I don't know if it's a boundary that if it was broken, if I would think it is worth ending a relationship or marriage over as well. On Tuesday, Mr. Platner was asked by Democratic senators in Washington in private meetings if there was anything else controversial in his background. He assured them there was nothing, but he predicted his adversaries would lie about him, according to a person familiar with the private discussions. On the campaign trail, Mr. Platner has consistently worked to reassure voters who have been rattled by what they have read about his messy personal history. He has said that he had not lived a very complicated life. He has said that he had not lived a very complicated life. I have a lot of ex-girlfriends, he told voters at town hall in late April. They're all still my friends. Well, it seems like everyone's still his friend except for this Fifield girl, who is not his friend apparently anymore. But okay, so that's the entire story. I read so much here, but that was a very long story. I wanted to get the full context, so that people can, understand what this actually is. And to my eyes, this is one Republican operative who is either mischaracterizing or intentionally mischaracterizing actual events, or maybe they did happen, but she wouldn't. I truly don't believe that she would bring this up if he wasn't a Democrat who is running in order to challenge capital, can challenge power. And New York Times certainly wouldn't have written this story if he wasn't. So that's my general assessment of this, is that this is probably a nothing, generally speaking, is not really that damning of a report on Graham Platner's character. If they did this exact same thing to every single Democrat and every single Republican in Congress, they would I would say probably 80%, 90% of them would have worse shit in their relationship history than this. I'm just saying, they could have written this about anybody, and they would have probably found significantly more dirt when it comes to the messy relationships of people in Congress. So there you go. That's kind of my assessment of it. So anyway, let's see what Graham Platner has to say in response. Oh, I also, let's start with that. Let's go and see his response.
New allegations.
So I know that we're talking about Graham Platner a lot today, but I really did want to read the entire article just so people were aware, right? And I want to be absolutely clear again. I am highly skeptical of Graham Platner, okay? And I am highly skeptical of him, but I am willing to trust that the words that he's saying now are true and that he is going to govern and put the policy in the bag, as people say, the way that he is saying that he is going to govern. And my belief in that largely stems from the amount of money and the amount of money and oppo and oppositional forces that are coming out of the woodwork to try to stop him. That really does put makes him a lot more believable in my mind than if they weren't. So let's go ahead, and I think that Graham Platner came on MS Now. But I kind of want to watch the actual video of his interview. 1 second. Well, let me see. Actually, let's watch this video. Okay, so what this video is going to hopefully give us is they're going to show maybe some clips of Graham Platner's interview with MS Now to, I guess, go over this. But I think then they're going to have a debate, right? Some sort of debate about this situation on MS Now. And I think it's important for people to understand what the liberal establishment is trying to accomplish here by this sort of smearing of Graham Platner. So I'm hoping that this MS Now video will give us a little insight into that. So let's go ahead and watch this real quick.
This morning against embattled Democratic Senate candidate Graham Platner. The New York Times spoke with several of Platner's ex-girlfriends, some of whom claim the Maine politician was, quote, volatile and toxic during their time together. The Times writes Platner could be charming and charismatic, they recalled in interviews, but also demeaning to women and, in at least one case, even physically threatening. One of Platner's ex-girlfriends, who has worked for conservative groups, recounted their relationship from 2013 to 2015. Quote, Platner could be rough with her, she said, particularly when they were drinking, leaving her shaken and sometimes afraid. She was quick to note that he never hit me, he never punched me. But she said he regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks, and on one occasion yanked her out of a cab by her wrist after an argument when she wanted to stay in the car. It's important to note the Times also spoke with several other former girlfriends who gave a different account of Platner, referring to him as, quote, a gentle giant and super kind. Platner himself joined MS Now last night for an exclusive interview to address the story.
There are some allegations in this piece that I just want to be kind of unequivocal about are simply not true. Anything alleging physicality, anything alleging that I knew what my tattoo was, these are the statements of someone who's politically motivated.
Yeah, so he is just denying the actual parts that matter, right? The actual parts that I would be concerned about is the physical stuff, and the tattoo. Like, everything else in the article was kind of just like yeah, he was just a messy bitch. Like, he was just messy. Like, he was in a bad mental state and was getting drunk all the time, which inevitably led to him just being really messy. That's what like the rest of it really sounded like to me. And also the driving over and making the girl feel scared by driving over drunk, I guess. And you know, that was also, you know, not good. It's not good. I'm not saying any of this stuff is good. I'm just saying that they are generally understandable and things that a lot of people in a lot of relationships go through.
In this piece, there's a lot about my struggling, not being a good boyfriend, certainly self-medicating with alcohol. And I've been very upfront since the beginning of this campaign that was a pretty dark period of my life after I came back from my combat service.
This Chiron is insane, too. Platner accused of violent past. I don't even know if it's really like violent, right? I don't know, man.
And
that seems a little too much.
That's what that kind of life looks like. And so
we should care, by the way. We should care way more, I think, about his ties to BlackRock and stuff. If we're going back to like 2013 to 2016, like, that's the stuff I care so much more about in terms of him, you know, being a monster, right? like that is, you know, that's way closer to irredeemable. There's an interesting dynamic here where they're going after him for like these potentially like making women feel uncomfortable issues, as opposed to going after him for the obvious reason that he was a Blackwater mercenary. And that's because, guess what? A lot of these liberals are perfectly fine with our military industrial complex and are perfectly fine with like Blackwater. And also, honestly, a lot of voters are too. Like, so I don't know. They're not even going after him for the things that like they probably should if they want to discredit him, in my opinion.
There are things in this that I absolutely will take responsibility for and have been speaking about openly for months now. But those serious allegations are just not true.
BlackRock, whatever.
This is just one of the big stories we've been following all week.
I think I keep saying Blackwater. I think it's BlackRock.
Down with our panel, co-host of the Nobody Knows Anything podcast and former spokesperson for the Clinton campaign, Jesse Larrick. Also with us, Republican strategist Ashley Davis. She worked at the White House as Homeland Security Director in the...
No, it's Blackwater. Sorry. Okay, I was right, I guess.
George W. Bush administration. Thank you both for ending the week with us. I think first we start with you, Jesse, on this question of Graham Platner.
Wait, who are these two?
Also with us, Nobody Knows Anything podcast and former spokes following all week. We'll break it down with our panel. Co-host of the Nobody Knows Anything podcast and former spokesperson for the Clinton campaign, Jesse Larrick. Also with us.
Okay, we got a Clinton campaign staffer.
Republican strategist Ashley Davis. She worked at the White House.
So Clinton campaign person and Republican strategist. That's who we're talking to.
As Homeland Security Director in the George W. Bush administration. Thank you both for ending the week with us. I think first we start with you, Jesse, on this question of Graham Platner. You knew it had to come to you.
It's so nice that I'm not explaining something right now.
I feel like Republicans often have enough to explain. We'll get there. But look, I think for Democrats, I have heard two things, and I wonder where you fall on this. I've heard from Democrats who say that this is a smear campaign meant to come before the primary in an election that Democrats have been thirsty to unseat Susan Collins in. And then I've also heard from Democrats who say this is really serious and the party needs to adjudicate it.
Okay. there is a dichotomy here. The average people don't give a shit, right? The people who are out there on the ground, the Mainers that he's trying to win over, as far as I know, do not give a shit about all of this stuff, because they care more about like the policies that he's presenting, as opposed to these these controversies, right? And so they will be much more likely, I think, to dismiss it as a smear campaign, as I am as well. Which I think it is, to be honest, to be completely completely honest. I do think it is a smear campaign. But the people who want it the people who are saying it's a really big deal are the same people who are writing the fucking articles, like, right? The people who are funding and writing the articles, the people who don't want Graham Platner elected are the same people who are actually out there saying it's a big deal. I think the average person, the average, like, even liberal is probably like, I don't care, right? Like, we'll see what the reactions are to this, but I don't think this is going to impact anything.
Despite the fact that they feel he could be a good opportunity to flip the Collins seat. I mean, where do you fall on this? How do we make sense of it?
I mean, I think it's unfair to just call it a smear campaign. I think it's clear that there are questions about.
Yeah, so he's probably one of the people trying to smear him, like
character and his credibility. And, you know, this adds to that. It's an uncomfortable situation for Democrats. Obviously, this is a must-win seat.
It's not that uncomfortable. Most Democrats don't give a shit. Like, most Democratic voters don't give a shit. It's uncomfortable. It's a manufactured uncomfortableness.
Control of the Senate might hinge on this race. So, you know, I understand why Democrats are loath to throw him under the bus. And, you know, at this point in the race, at the same time, you know, I think we have to acknowledge that he has a credibility problem that's building at this point. You know, I didn't find his interview with Chris Hayes terribly affirming last night.
He already had a credibility problem, but that doesn't change anything, right? He already had a credibility problem because he worked for fucking Blackwater. That's right? Blackwater. Man, now I'm gonna have it mixed up in my brain forever. He already had a credibility problem. This stuff is not nearly as much of a credibility problem than that. Like that is by far the biggest credibility problem. Now, he's already explained that he has changed significantly since those days. Like, he has explained that before. And I am, you know, going out on a limb to believe him, because I know that even if he is lying, he's still going to be better than Susan Collins.
He didn't seem super contrite. And so I worry about it, you know. Still, I would say I don't think a charismatic adulterer with a drinking problem is a novel profile for a U.S. senator, unfortunately.
Yeah, but at the same time, right, in an election cycle, and I have had Democrats say this to me as well, Ashley, in an election cycle where Democrats will make a ton of hay, rightfully so, about Ken Paxton and his history in Texas, what do you make of the main profile that Graham Platner is cutting right now? And I think you're right. There are Democrats who say, well, voters don't care.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because even if Graham Platner was like a pristine candidate, they're just going to make shit up. Like, they're going to like smear people and like, you know, just make up random shit for like anybody. Like, look at like Tallarico, right? Tallarico, they're just straight up saying, I mean, this isn't the same, I guess, but they're saying, they're just lying and saying that he's a vegan, right? Because they think that it'll play well in Texas. Like, whether he's a good candidate or not does not matter, because they will just make it up. The more important thing is, can you like, you need to be out there being like, we don't care anymore. The Democratic Party needs to take a little bit of a lesson from the Republican Party, and with Trump in particular, that you should embrace your controversies and you should go out there and be like, we don't give a shit. We don't give a shit that this is controversial. Literally them like circle jerking on this like Democrat, you know, MSDNC panel right now is not a good look, because it makes you look weak. If you went out there and said, we don't care about Graham Platner's controversies, he's going to govern effectively, and that's what we care about the most. So fuck you, Republicans. Keep trying, bitch. Like, if they went out there and talked like that, then it wouldn't. They're literally like, they're paving the way for Republicans to like do this shit. And it's because it's a classic situation. It's the classic situation where the Democrats, they don't want to win on the terms of the left, right? They don't want to win with a socialist like Graham Platner, right? They want to win with like centrist neoliberal corporate hacks who are incapable of winning. So AKA they want to lose, right? And so they would rather lose than have Graham Platner win. So they are facilitating this sort of messaging by allowing people to take it way more seriously than the average voter actually will take it. And also, by the way, by doing this, they are like potentially actually they are potentially going to impact some people in Maine to maybe be like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't go out to vote for this guy, right? There is like, I think, a material impact to the Democrats, like taking any of this shit even remotely seriously. And they really need to just like say, we don't care, that this is irrelevant. He's going to govern effectively, and that's what we care about. That should be the answer for everybody out there who wants the Democrats to take the Senate.
How can we be the ones to adjudicate this? But for Democrats, they're kind of testing how big is the tent. And for Republicans watching, what are they making of it?
And we were talking about this in the green room because Swalwell was out and like almost instantly when his allegations, but they were different.
Yeah, because he was an alleged sexual assaulter. He committed crimes. Like, no shit. What are we talking about? As far as I know, not even the worst of what that Fee-Field Republican operative alleged is a crime. Nothing that Graham Platner has done is a crime, even if you believe everything that she said.
They were much different. I don't think this is a campaign ender for him at all. I mean, this article was supposed to be devastating. Obviously, it's not good. But if I'm reading that and I'm living in Maine, I'm like, oh, he's got mad ex-girlfriends, too, and see if it's right or wrong. I mean, whether it's correct or not, or if they're just ex-girlfriends. Yeah. But he's explaining, and the problem is it's a drip, 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 drip of negative stories about him, and he doesn't want to be explaining right now. He wants to be attacking Susan Collins, right? Yeah. And she's kind of like low drama. So for her, Maine's probably like...
There was a really fascinating split screen, I thought, last night of Platner here explaining on this story and Susan Collins being congratulated for taking her 10.
But we also don't know, though. We don't know how this is going to impact the actual like voters of Maine. And my guess is that it's going to have not that much of an impact. The only impact I see is potentially demotivating some Democratic voters to not come out. That's what I see as like potentially happening. But that wouldn't happen if the Democratic establishment went out there and said, just like universally said, we do not give a shit about this. And if Graham Platner, I mean, I know that he came on the program and like explained it or whatever, which I guess is a good move, but I think that he could be a little bit more like Trumpy about it, like be like, none of that happened. Most of the people in that article said that I was like the best boyfriend they've ever had. Maybe not go that far, but said that said they felt incredibly comfortable with me. This is a complete distraction, and they're attacking me because they don't want me to, I'm about to go out there and fight for you, the little guy. And then like maybe he could get some more positive publicity out of this potentially. You shouldn't inherently believe that every scandal, quote unquote scandal, is going to be like a negative. You can spin it into a positive. Trump did that all the time. He took things that were supposed to be scandals and said, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, maybe I said it, maybe I didn't. I don't care. Like he just went out there and did that, and he earned more and more, like more and more credibility to a lot of people for doing that. And it looked like he was being attacked by the establishment, which helped a lot of people, like helped him position himself as an anti-establishment candidate, even though he's obviously like a part of the establishment. I think Platner can do a similar thing. Probably it's going to depend how he messages around it, and it's honestly going to depend a lot how these democratic institutions like MSDNC here, how they cover it as well.
1,000th consecutive vote in the Senate, and I wonder
If
That's going to be a campaign ad, I'm sure.
Right? I mean, but
Yeah.
you know what these campaigns look like. I mean, what does this story turn into? Even if this is the last shoe to drop, and I think many of us have been warned by various strategists of there's more to come, there's more to come. If this is the drip, 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 what it looks like through November, what is the state of play then in Maine?
See, I have always felt that she survives. She survives every time. The only thing she cares about.
Yeah, well, she survives because she goes against centrist neoliberal hacks, right? I don't know. Like, I think that this is probably the best chance we've ever had for Maine with Graham Platner. And I still think that. I don't think that this is going to be that much of a controversy to the people of Maine. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Right or wrong, whether she's a Republican, Democrat, or her constituents, she will not do anything, and that's been her reputation. I always thought that that's going to be a really hard seat to flip.
And then Democrats at the same time are saying, well, Trump, with all of his allegations and scandals attached to him, is in the White House. They're trying to say, you know, that makes the bar lower for someone like Platner, and yet these are the very things that they attack the president on, right? Like, it's a very complex situation for Democrats to be in.
It's not.
Definitely complex. I would say I do not think.
No, it's not. It's not complex. It's complex maybe for you as media personalities, but it's not complex for the average voter. The average voter needs material improvements to their lives. That's their number one thing. And if Graham Platner can go out there and identify those material issues that people are hurting from and say, I am going to fix it by doing policy or by voting for policy A, B, and C when I get into the Senate, right? I will fight for you and I will help alleviate your suffering and your pain, your economic pain. Then they will gloss over all of this for sure, 100%.
I think there's an equivalency between Graham Platner and Donald Trump or Ken Paxton. I think with both Paxton and Trump, I have a bigger problem with the fact that they are crooks than with the fact that they are adulterers. And the last thing I'd say about the 10,000 votes, like, I think Graham Platner would rather be talking about populist economic policy than his ex-girlfriends, but I don't think that he minds a split screen where Susan Collins is being, celebrated for taking her 10,000th consecutive vote. He's running very much against the establishment, and she hasn't delivered the things that
she looks like the establishment. He looks like he's being attacked by the establishment.
One, and so I think 10,000 votes. He's like, keep talking about that.
Yeah, and you're here too long.
Exactly,
also, one of the very.
I'm curious. I'm going to move on to this next video. Sorry, this is a lot of Graham Platner, but this is actually kind of interesting to me, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go on to this next one. This is from 3 hours ago. This is going to be some interviews with people. Well, it looks like they're going to do a panel after, so I'm only going to watch the beginning, really. But it looks like they're doing some interviews with just average Mainers, people who live in Maine, and to see what they think about it.
Now, congressional reporter Kevin Fry, he joins us live from Sullivan, Maine. Kevin, good morning. So what are voters telling you this morning, not just about that piece and his reaction to it, but more broadly about some of the scandals that have followed him?
Yeah, I mean, look, there is a degree of concern, a bit of frustration about the fact that we have to continue talking about kind of a trickle upon a trickle upon a trickle of these headlines about Platner. But at the same time, Democrats that I've talked to since arriving here have consistently said that they are standing by him. They believe that there is kind of this sense of that he has a story arc that is one of redemption. They're willing to continue to back him. Here is some of what we heard.
Does he have a problematic past? Yes, but I would rather have a redemption story than somebody telling you how wonderful they are, how much research they do, and yet they still make the wrong decision for the people of Maine.
Would I date him? No, but it does play into his character, but we're not looking for perfection. We are where we are. We have a Senate that's controlled by the Republicans who are not holding this president in check, and that is a higher priority.
Yep. So that was two interviews. We'll see. I guess he'll talk a little bit more about what people are saying here, but I'll probably cut off around the 3-minute mark.
Some have also gone so far when I've talked to them to say that, look, they wish his recovery from some of these setbacks, if you will, was a little bit smoother. And one individual, when I spoke to her, I asked, is there a line where it goes too far, where, okay, I I can no longer support this individual. And she said, I don't know what that line is, but I hope we do not get there. There are some other factors at play here as well, which is, of course, the Janet Mills question. She's still on the ballot. She, of course, did suspend her campaign amid financial issues. And generally speaking, the folks that are still in Platner's camp go back to this argument that it's time for a new generation of leadership. They like what he stands for. They like his economic message. They like that he's bringing people together and clearly creating energy.
Okay, well, so then exactly what I thought. This video is from 5 hours ago, and it's exactly what I thought. Nobody cares. At least the Democrats out there do not care. Maybe some independents might, maybe, but I still think that even independents and maybe even Republicans, it's like we are in the post-Trump era. Like, this is not a thing. Like, we need to get real change ASAP, or else our country is going to fall apart. Like, it's like crumbling around us, and we need real change. And so people are willing to, I guess, we can't abide by the same like old school civility rules that used to exist. Which, by the way, I thought were always kind of bullshit anyway. I don't need my politicians to be civil. I don't need my politicians to have a perfect past. I just need to know that, like, I need to hear what they're saying, if they're saying the right things when it comes to policy. I need to know that they will, or like think relatively that they will challenge the power structures at large. That includes like using fig leaves, like challenge, like saying they're not taking AIPAC money or going against the state of Israel, right? Or saying they're going to implement a wealth tax, or like things that like corporate politicians just aren't allowed to say. Like, I need them to do that, which Graham Platner is. And the rest of it is like, I'm skeptical of him because of his past. I'm skeptical of him that he's going to turn into another like Gillibrand, or somebody who doesn't vote the way that he's saying that he's going to vote. For sure, I am. However, I don't. Like I said, we cannot assume that we can't assume just because we had a Gillibrand and a Fetterman that every single politician is going to turn out that way. Otherwise, it's impossible to engage in politics. So I am putting some trust that he is going to govern in the way that he's saying that he's going to govern. And if that is the case, then I don't care about any of these things when it comes to his history. As long as he governs the way that he's going to govern, I will not give two shits about how messy his previous relationships are. I will forgive him for his Blackwater stuff if he, actually votes no on sending more money to fund the Iran war, right? I will forgive him on those things if he actually does put, as they say, put the policy in the bag, right? That's kind of my opinion on it. Anyway, that's enough. We're done. The Graham Platner, the oops all Graham Platner episode of Technically Clay, that we're done with it. Okay, I'm tired of it. That article took forever to read. I'm sorry that there was so much Graham Platner on this episode, but you know what, I felt like we needed to talk about it. Hopefully we won't have to talk about him too much after this. But anyway, let's go ahead and try to do 2 hours and 15 minutes. My God, what I do for you people. Okay, I promised this yesterday and I didn't get to it, so I'm gonna promise. So I'm doing it today. Okay. We mentioned. Peve, what are you doing over there? Better not be peeing. Okay, my cat. He's over in the corner, and this is a cat that I know if he's over in the corner, I gotta keep an eye on him. Okay. Well, anyway. Okay. So now that we're done with all of the Graham Platner shit, we're going to talk about SpaceX. Okay. I didn't get to it yesterday, so I'm going to get to it today. So apparently SpaceX is going public, everybody. Elon Musk's SpaceX is going to have an IPO for $1.75 trillion. My God, that is an ungodly amount of money. Is there what's the highest valued company price? Highest valued company price. Okay, so for reference, I'm going to take, this is Google AI, so take it with a grain of salt. Nvidia is at like 5 trillion, Apple is at 4 trillion, Google is at 4 trillion. So 1.75 trillion means that this company is essentially opening at half of like Apple. Okay. So my question is, and maybe they will answer it for me. How the hell does SpaceX ever become profitable? Right? Can someone please answer me this question? I am so confused. I am so confounded. SpaceX is a private space company. Does SpaceX do what's it called? Starlink? Does SpaceX own Starlink? Okay. Starlink is owned by SpaceX. That could be profitable. The reason that I'm so confused about this is because the entire notion of like flying billionaires into space for fun is not a profitable venture, right? The entire idea of like private space travel in general is not a profitable venture. I'm going to be completely honest with you people. I do not think that that private space travel, private space colonization is going to be like remotely profitable for capitalists for centuries, if not millennia. like I think it will be hundreds of years before it is even remotely considered quote unquote profitable to do any sort of like space colonization, moon colonization, Mars colonization, or even building out just space stations out in space. There's a reason that this started as a public enterprise. It's because there's no possible way that it can ever be profitable, at least in the near term. I'm serious. I don't think that it's possible. So that's why I'm so confused about this. So I'm really, really hoping that this video from CNBC television is going to tell me how on earth this company is ever going to become profitable, except for Starlink. I don't know what else is a part of SpaceX. Maybe there's other parts of it that can subsidize the insane amount of money that you have to like throw into a black hole just to get people out into space temporarily.
The amended filing for SpaceX. Our Leslie Picker broke that on the air and joins us here at Post 9 with some additional details, maybe. Hey, LP.
Hey, Carl. Yeah, so that amended filing is expected to come after the market today. So in speaking with people familiar with the matter, it sounds like the company and its advisors have agreed on a fixed price ahead of the roadshow. This is different than the typical range that you would see and you go and meet with investors and market your deal at a range. In this case, this is pretty unique here. They're doing a fixed price, they've already said it, of $135 a share. They're going to offer 555.6 million shares for a total IPO size of $75 billion.
So they're artificially setting the price. I think people are going to buy it, man, but I'm curious what's going to happen instantaneously after they buy it, because like I said, it's not going to be a profitable venture. I'm curious if it's going to get like rug pulled or something. Like they're going to set the price like super high, and then instantaneously it'll just like drop off, right? Because people will sell it. And then it will go back down to like maybe a more reasonable price. But it's hard to tell though, because it is like a tech company, and tech companies aren't valued very much by like their actual fundamentals. They're valued off of like branding and like vibes. So it's possible that maybe it can maintain that price even after it goes public. I don't really know though.
$1 billion. I was curious kind of whether there was any significance to the $135 price or 555.6 million shares. It sounds like it was just the math that got you to a $75 billion offering, as simple as that. On a diluted valuation basis, a fully diluted valuation basis, this will be a $1.75 trillion company, and that assumes and includes the EchoStar deal as well as the Cursor deal, but it would not include the performance units that would hit for Elon Musk when there is a sizable presence on Mars, for example, and the details of that fixed price. Never
gonna happen, dude. Never gonna happen. A sizable, no, it's not gonna happen on Mars. Are you kidding me? No, it is. That is, like I said before, centuries, if not millennia away. Like, that is not going to happen.
Does confirm.
Can you imagine a supply line to Mars? Like, people don't ever think about that. Like, it's not like you can just get there and be like self-sufficient, right? Like you can't, like, you would have to make it a way to create, to sustain life first, like through just sending like unmanned things over there. Once you have created some way of producing food and water on Mars, like self-sufficiently, then maybe you could get people over there to try to keep building that out. But you have to do that first. And the supply line cost of just getting shit to Mars is like an insane amount of money. Like, I just don't think, I don't know, man.
A Reuters report from last night. The fixed price kind of comes from a very broad and wide-ranging testing the waters process. So the bankers and the company have already gotten a lot of feedback, according to my sources, and so they felt comfortable at this level, didn't need a typical range. I also asked about anchor investors, because you see those typically with these big deals where you have long-onlys on the cover that comprise a certain proportion of the offering, which increases the scarcity even more. I'm told that won't be the case here. They have some long-onlys that they've been talking with, and there's implicit demand, but there's not going to be actual anchor investors on the cover when we see that amended filing, most likely tonight.
All right, so Leslie, what thought have they given to the retail market problem? Do they understand that whatever price they're picking could be radically different, and probably possible that there'll be buyers with market orders that might come up to $400, $500? What do they have on the other side to make it so that they're not?
I was thinking it would be the opposite. I was thinking that the price would go down pretty significantly afterwards, but I don't know, man. Maybe they're the experts here. I'm just some silly YouTuber.
Not batched a la 1999, and the price opens at at 260.
Yeah.
What are they thinking about?
I asked that very question because it's so important here.
Right. What did they say?
They're looking to allocate 30% to retail, and they did admit this is a big wild card here, because you can come out with a fixed price, you go through the marketing process, you get that feedback, but not until they kind of set those terms and start the roadshow will they get that feedback.
But is there something they can do where there's a quick release? If they see that it looks like that the public's paying market orders, they batch them together, and it's 400. Is there any way that they can have something on the other side, not to be like 1999?
Well, they have stuff to protect from the downside. I don't know if they have anything to protect from the upside.
Do they not know what happened?
This seems like he's trying to pump the stock, man. He's trying to be a part of the rug pull. That's what it feels like to me. Is he an anchor investor? Like, I don't know.
But I do think that the retail component, the fact that it is 30%, is unique here. Usually it's much smaller, and retail becomes that marginal buyer on day one.
For them,
so
maybe they'll flip it.
Well, that's the question: is do they flip it?
I just don't want people to get hurt. I hope they understand that in 1999, orders were batched. Bad guys took the other side. They were all investigated. A lot of them were drummed out of the business because people realized they opened it really high, and then the brokers walked it all the way down, made a fortune against retail. Do they know that?
But is this the size of this deal is so much larger than anything that you're talking about? Does that matter?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because this is the biggest deal of all time.
No, I know, but my point is 30% to retail of
Is this Jim Cramer? He's something else, man.
$75 billion raise is not an insignificant sum. The things you're talking about from 99 were tiny.
No, I'm talking about people who have never even opened an account, who don't know the difference between a limit order and a market order, who come in and don't realize there's no one on the other side of the trade because no one has stock, and the broker has to hope that the retail guy flips, which is the opposite of what they want. I don't think they've thought this through.
I guess the point David's making is that the retail base is...
I think that, dude, I think that he's misunderstanding why they're doing this fixed price, because okay, look, I am no expert when it comes to stock stuff, okay? But I would guess that they're doing this to artificially inflate the price at the beginning, I think. So that some people might be able to make out like bandits right at the beginning, and then it'll get back down to what its like true market value is. I don't know for sure. Maybe SpaceX has more stuff as a subsidiary of it that like can be profitable. There's SpaceX AI. Like, I mean, I'm not a huge like AI nerd or anything, so I don't know if that's any good. Pioneer Aerospace, a parachute manufacturer. Starlink. Yeah, Starlink is the only one I see as like the actual profitable portion of the company.
Much more mature and larger now, right? It's not like you get a flood of inexperienced trading coming in.
I think you will. I don't think that retail base covers nearly. This is a man who is the most revered businessman of our time, and a lot of people want a piece of it. And not the people.
It shows how much of a fucking idiot our country is, like, and the people who buy this shit, man. The difference now between like stock investors of today versus like investors of like, you know, 100 years ago or whatever, it's insane. Everybody is just like living on the hopes and whims of this. And maybe to some extent it was always like this, but I feel like we've really gotten to the point where the stock market is just straight up hopium of like the most unintelligent people are just hoping. The most unintelligent, like stupid people are out there just hoping that like that everything Elon Musk touches is going to turn to gold. And it's going to work, unfortunately, until it doesn't. It'll work until it doesn't. When it doesn't work, we'll see what happens then. But it, like, all of this like AI spending, like the overvaluations of AI companies and all that sort of shit, like it's going to keep working until it doesn't. And we'll see what happens when it doesn't work anymore.
Not just the people who are on the deal. I mean, they got to think about who they're really. This is a real problem on the other side when this thing opens. We don't want this thing to double.
My understanding is that, and this is, you know, bits and pieces here and there, but to comprise that 30%, it's not going to be, you know, largely from the Robin Hoods of the world and the SoFi. They will represent a portion of it, but they're looking at, you know, Chase Private Bank and Merrill Lynch, and they're looking at retail abroad in order to do so. It's a little bit different than.
But that's a small universe versus everyone, and so many people want to buy on the deal, and there's nothing for them other than a market order and a $400 price that's reached between 1 and 2 p.m.
Leslie, thanks.
We'll see.
Okay, well, there you go, people. That's SpaceX. We'll see what happens with it. My guess, and you know, I could be wrong, is that it's going to initially, this hasn't already happened, right? I don't want to make a prediction and it's already happened. SpaceX IPO date. Friday, June 12th. So it's a week away. Okay, well, my guess is that it's overvalued, I think. But I think that even if it is overvalued, there's a possibility that because it's Elon Musk and because it's a tech stock, that it doesn't have to be based on any sort of actual fundamentals of like future profitability. I think that there's still a possibility that like people will continue buying the stocks even higher than what it starts at. But I kind of think that it should probably drop like a rock to a more reasonable price, like maybe like 1 trillion or something after it, like, which even that might be a little bit high. I'm gonna be honest, but okay, so let's go ahead and move on. I think I just got to move on to x.com because we are getting we're 2.5 hours in. I'm just gonna find like one good story or something that I can commentate on, and then I'm probably gonna get out of here. Okay, people. So let's see. This is from 5 hours ago. Dr. Abdul El Sayed from Michigan, right? Yeah. I think that's where he's running, right? It probably says in his bio. Yeah, Michigan. Today, the UAW announced their endorsement of our campaign. I'm following that, right? Let's follow that. I am so honored and humbled because Sean Fain, by the way, is rad as hell. I like Sean Fain a lot. Michigan Union Auto Workers built the American middle class and proved that when people stand together, there's nothing we can't accomplish. Solidarity forever. Awesome. Adam Carolla says the left loves George Floyd and hates Elon Musk. That's all you need to know. That is all you need to know. You're right. You're 100% right. A person who was murdered in the street by cops and a South African white supremacist, yeah, that is all you need to know. Breaking, California Democrat Ro Khanna says the allegations against Graham Platner reported by New York Times are wrong and toxic, but says he will still appear alongside him at a rally in Maine tonight. The people of Maine deserve a senator who is going to stand up to the billionaire class against genocide. I talked about Graham Platner for an ungodly amount of time today, so I am going to move on. Kyle Kalinske says, I didn't endorse Jill Stein. I support Kamala as soon as she became the nominee. But you know that. You're just a disgusting liar. Shitlib Supreme is a bad name. Change it to MAGA dick sucker. Shitlibs are far superior to whatever the fuck you are. I don't know what they said. They have dark woke in their thing. Wait, what's dark? So they say dark woke. Do they not realize that they're talking to the dark woke commander, Secular Talk? Kyle Kalinske. Okay, let's move on. Based on a tentative ruling, Ethan Klein has lost his copyright lawsuit to Denims. Woo! Way to go, people. Is there a video about this? Let me see. The judge determined that Denims' reaction to the content nuke constituted fair use. They classify. I think they actually even used Ethan Klein's previous win about copyright, like fair use law. That they use that against him, I think. Let me see. Denims, Ethan Klein. Oh, okay. Well, maybe this one could be good. Well, no, let me see if I can find her video. Even, this is funny. Even Timcast, dude. Even Timcast is like, he just lost everything. Even he hates him. Where's I wanted Denims herself to say something. Unless she hasn't. Denims clips. I sometimes watch Denims clips. Daily Denims. Maybe this is a good one. No, nothing here yet. Let me see if I can find let's watch this one. Unfortunately, I mean, I didn't see one of Denims herself.
Is a shitlib apocalypse.
Nah, whatever. I hope there's a Denims video sometime that I can commentate on for that. But for now, I'll just say, way to go, Denims. Keep it up. Take as much of that lawyer fees as you possibly can from him. I hope it was a lot. Let's see. While I was on my honeymoon, Hassan the Hun reacted to my Asmongold video and theorized that if I spoke to his fans, the outcome would be very different. While I'm working on my reaction, I wanted to reach out to Hassan Piker fans and ask, why do you like Hassan? How many hours a week do you spend watching him? What do you think people misunderstand him?
Which creator's fan should I look into next? I feel like if he did something like this in my community, I suspect that the outcome would be very different. And I know that because journalists have profiled my fans. He seemed visibly annoyed with this video and you watching it. Who? So what's interesting about this is journalists have reached out to my fans, like NPR and other numerous outlets have reached out to my fans at times when they're doing a profile on me. And
I don't know what he's talking about. Congressman Brandon Gill says, conservatives like to say woke is dead, but it's not dead. It's merely dormant. That's true. Woke is central to left-wing ideology and wreaked unimaginable pain during Biden's time in office. I wouldn't say that woke wreaked unimaginable pain. I would say it was a little annoying sometimes, but that's nothing compared to the amount of economic warfare that Trump has unleashed along the working class, or towards the working class. He says, we can't let it happen again. Stay in the fight. You'll lose that fight. Dear God. This dude says there was no famine in Gaza. Straight up genocide denial, man. These people are freaks. Okay, let's go ahead and let's see. Let's go ahead and find something non-Graham Platner related. What's this? We'll watch this Matt Lieb clip. It says, Carl Bejer says, there's still time to nominate a socialist in Maine.
I did not know that they did that you could reply with videos. I was going to quote tweet it. I was just trying to hit the quote tweet button and I did something else instead. I was not prepared. To be on video. So,
I wonder if you can't stop it once it starts with the quote video.
Oh, my eyes, they look crazy, puppy. I'm in Jordan. It's far different time zone. I don't know if that explains the.
Okay, I don't know what this is. I got to move on. This is nothing. Man avoids gay stares. That's hilarious. Let's watch him. I can't listen to that probably. Wow. Oh man, impressive. Impressive. That's impressive. Oh, don't step on that one. That's the trans part. You don't want to step on the trans part, buddy. That's the worst. Okay, congrats. That was an impressive feat. Can someone please explain to me why Democrats are mad about this? Are Democrats mad about this? I know that they're annoyed by the whole doing the blue, like dyeing the reflecting pool blue or whatever. I don't understand what's the difference here between what it was before and what it is now. Can someone explain to me that? This looks the exact same as how it was before to me. It's probably because it's dark, right? Like if it's dark, I think it would look the exact same. I think that the key thing people were mad about is that they turned it into like a swimming pool. Like they made it look like a swimming pool as opposed to a reflecting pool. Mark Wahlberg turns 55 today. Didn't Mark Wahlberg punch an Asian guy once? Like as a hate crime? Jesus would not approve. Let's see. People who vaccinated for COVID-19 won't live up to June 2026. BBC confirmed. Wait. People who vaccinated for COVID-19 won't live up to June 2026. What's BBC? Am I missing something? I mean, I know, like, there's the channel BBC, the big, beautiful channel. There's, there's another connotation of it on certain websites that I've never once visited in my entire life. Okay, what's this?
I'm spilling the shit right now. They did not have any official guest books, so I booked Matt Bernstein for the podcast.
Ooh, Matt Bernstein. I like Matt Bernstein.
And I went, there you go.
Okay. I need just one more to get out of here too. What's this? Abdul being hot. Lifting, I think he can lift like 3 plates or something, man. It's pretty impressive. What was that? Okay, we're gonna watch this and get out of here.
Up. Give the people what they want. Come on.
I mean,
come on.
I mean, it's not that kind of show.
They're doing some posing. I'm just worried about the audio getting claimed.
And I've been like, that guy.
That's not the culture.
Yeah.
I think I watched this this workout stream when it came out, if I remember correctly.
I mean, I'm trying.
Okay, well there you go. I think I'm gonna have to call it with that, because I gotta. Ooh, Abdul Al Sayed, 41%. 40, dude, he's crushing. He's crushing. 41%. Stevens, 23%. McMorrow, 18%. Give fuck. Get fucked, APAC. Okay. With that, I'm out of here, guys. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye-bye.